Whatever. I'll just go first. So, okay, so first I think 9 is in a... Let's see. I think 9 is not bad, but she's in a weird tier where she's being... I'm gonna call 9 a super shill tier. So essentially, like, I don't think she's S tier because... Or... I think for clearing content, 9 is S tier at the moment. Super shill, yeah. Super shill. She's good for clearing content. If you play Ironclad 9, she's really good for clearing content. If you play, like, Q Extreme... Obviously, I haven't played her post-nerfs with Orlea, but she should still be alright, I think, for clearing stuff. Because 20 stacks on Q Extreme is still, like, 3 times multiplier with Vuln and everything. And so you can probably still clear the boss by that turn, by, like, turn 5-ish, if your 9 is strong enough. But I think the issue with 9 in the end is that, like, the hardest content of this game isn't clearing it. It's actually, like, a damage race, if that makes sense. So I think 9 is not actually, like, I think Chaos with specific teams, she is S tier. Um, Without those specific teams, she drops down to A tier because she has to be, like, I mean, like, she's definitely good. Because I definitely underestimated how hard they power crept a lot of Chaos modes this season. But yeah, she's being super chill just because she's like, I guess she's like the first signal of power creep. At least in Chaos, where like baseline damage is required to be a lot higher. And since 9's multipliers are not the best, but she's consistent, she ends up being like, she ends up feeling a lot better than I think she actually should be feeling. So I think that's why I'm gonna call her super chill, because I don't think she's actually genuinely good, and I think if she is the start of power creep in the game, she's gonna fall off super hard, super fast. And so, yeah, I guess that's the vibes. Like, I think she's actually like realistically like S minus. We'll call it S minus or like S or like A plus, because I really don't think she has. She's not gonna have good longevity in the game, or she might, but her longevity will be dependent on like Ironclad, and not really her DPS builds, in my opinion. Because Hue Extreme only looks good because of the Orlea and Spore. If you want to call it abuse or interactions, it's probably abuse now because they've nerfed it and it's out of the game. But she only looks strong because of that. There is one video where someone played, I think like Flash Hue, or they played Hue Extreme, and they managed to clear the main boss or like the Nebula boss with Hue Extreme by playing like 5 Fighting Instincts and then final level 3 or level 5 Hue. But the issue with that video, from what I saw, is that they rolled they rolled all 5 to 6 crits. They had 40% crit or like 50% crit, and they flipped every single crit. And if they had missed a single crit in that sequence, they would not have killed. So on her weakness element, on a boss that actively benefits, like that actively rewards you for having really hard hitting multipliers because of 30% damage taken, she still had to hit every single crit in order to one turn the boss. And that's like what, 2 to the power of like 6, that's what, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, like less than a 2% chance. Like that's equivalent to hitting like an SSR on like a single pull of a run. And so you probably have to like reroll a lot to get that. Not even mentioning the fact you have to like build her up to 60, get all the potentials maxed out, make sure you have Rei, so you have the 20% multiplier, all that. So yeah, look at the skill, but it is just like, yeah, like, and that's it. Like you have to do that multiple times for 50k a turn. Without the damage reduction, like it is 100k. That is pretty nice, but I don't know. I think it's still a hater. Like I think if you looked at if you asked me day one, I would have put 9 at like A tier or B tier. But after playing the season for a week and like being really reliant on her carrying my runs, I can definitely say that she's like a little or like a good amount better than I thought she was before. I think she is low-key required to be pulled. Um, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out because she feels required to be pulled just because without her, I don't know who maybe I had to build Magna or something, but I don't know who I'd be playing in order to like clear all these seasonal runs because of how much they power crept the HP. Because I don't have E2 Sereniel, and obviously pulling E09 is a lot cheaper than pulling E2 Sereniel overall. But and I don't even think Sereniel's good for the seasonal chaos, so yeah, I don't know. She's definitely a lot better than I give her credit for, I guess is the main take they'll have. Then I wanted this other screen to show the builds. Let's see, where did it go? Make sure that this is actually set up properly because I don't think I have this view done well. So we'll pull up 9. It's a little ugly. So yeah, the ideal 9 build I think exists right now is you obviously delete the 3 basics no matter what. Out of these real 5 cards, Experience Strike is probably the worst one by a decent amount, just because it has no epiphanies that are good. So again, the reason why I thought 9 was bad is just because like her build creativity was also pretty middling. So Experience Strike as a card is really bad because the only really generic benefit it gives you is maybe there's a counterattack version, right? I thought it was a counterattack. Oh no, it's Fatal Strike that's counterattack, I think. Yeah. Oh no, it's right here. So this counterattack Experience Strike is the only one that really gives you like a different build going on. But it's not even as though it's a good build because you can just like gain counterattack or use Magna or Khalipe or someone else as your counterattack trigger for ambush. And ambush itself isn't even good because it essentially you're just cheating out a base level Hue. And if you build Khalipe properly, if you build like a good any other character, you can get all the Hue cast manually. You can actually have a better benefit from it. So even this Experience Strike counterattack ambush tech is really, really middling because you're not really doing much with it. Like she ends up being a free character to play, but it requires your enemy to have constant counter or like constant attacks in general. And it's not as though that's a really important tool for 9. Also, I guess it's annoying that you can't see this because of me. Just pull above. So yeah, I don't know. It's already that build is like pretty dead. So I think you always delete Experience Strike as well. So you're rolling with these 4 cards. Fighting Spirit is only good if you are going for like extreme, in my opinion, because it costs 1 mana, and then that 1 mana, like if you have Mika, if you have Khalipe with Vulture Projections, like that 1 mana ends up being pretty accessible. So you could run like, for example, like tonight I'll probably be posting a video with like Khalipe 9 +1, probably Rei, where I have a 0 cost Fatal Strike. It's just like a random Fatal Strike. I don't even know which one I had, but I have a 0 cost Fatal Strike, and then that way I'm able to play. I deleted Fighting Spirit because it costs 1 mana, but then this way I'm able to play like 3 Ironclad Hues in a row, and then I use Fatal Strike for the last one. And then because I don't have because the Khalipe is only +5 and I missed the gain 1 AP on playing 3 cost arena enhancement on 9, I do unfortunately have to spend 1 mana on the bleed. But if, for example, I didn't have to spend that 1 mana on the bleed to do the perfect cycle, or I gotten the +1 AP when I played a 3 cost card, I could have realistically played Fighting Spirit instead. And then that way, with the correct like with the this Khalipe build, like I could easily make this deck, right? Ironclad, Fighting Spirit. You play 2 Fighting Spirit or 2 Hues at 3 mana. And then you play Fighting Spirit, and then you play the final Hue. So you're playing 9 mana total, or no. Yeah, it'd be 9 mana total for this entire Ironclad combo, which is 4 Ironclads, which is really good for 9 mana. And then you start with 3 mana, obviously. You would get 5 mana back from Khalipe because she has 4 Vulture Injections that are +1 AP. Ideally, like if you somehow get +1 Divine, then even better. That's +2 AP per Vulture Injection, so you could get up to 9 AP from Khalipe herself alone. And then you could even get like another Divine Epiphany on the Celestial Rally, so you could get actually 10 AP back from Khalipe if you have like super Giga Turbo Bis on her, which is kind of unrealistic to talk about. Like the Khalipe build I'm talking about, just like detract from 9 really quickly. just so you can see, I guess like the vision of it. Like there is a reality where you, like upon super high roll, you can hit a generic epiphany with +1 AP, and then or divine epiphany on +1 AP, and then also a +1 AP generic epiphany. So there is a reality where you get this going on, 4 copies of this, and then like you don't epiphany one time, and that way you can't get an arena mod actually with this type of build because you have a perfect 180 with 4 divine epiphanies. But yeah, you could have something that looks like this as Khalipe A. And then this is +8 AP obviously upon playing 1 card, which is really, really good. This is probably like probably not super base Khalipe A, but it's probably pretty close. I think the only better version of this, if you're honestly, I do think it's likely that the draw 2 base epiphany is better because that actually gives you a lot more flexibility. Because you don't really need like that much AP. Okay, I also don't know why I bugged out. Draw 2. Confirm. Copy. Yeah, because then Khalipe becomes like a super Veronica because she's giving you shield, she's doing damage, she's doing other things, and then she draws you 9 cards. Like she cycles herself. Like this would be pretty disgusting. Probably ideally what I want to pull on Khalipe at some point, but regardless, 9 does have that Ironclad build going on for her, but it's not. It's like okay. In her current content, it's good damage. Because it is in the end like a lot of high percentage damage is going out, but it's just not fast. And if you're trying to top out Great Rift, I don't think it'll ever be Ironclad unless you have to really shield, in which case like go ham, I guess. So there's a chance again with super shilling, this is like one of the best builds in the game for a while because you can clear almost everything with Ironclad, playing it like 3-4 times in a row. You get 1,000 shield from this alone, and then you're unkillable. Almost nothing will break through that shield unless it's like a +7 morale super power crept Nebula boss, aka the one we have right now. But again, super shilling wise, 9 is unbeatable. But it's just her damage. Her upper limit for damage is low. And I think this is probably the best 9 build. Again, there is the extreme one where you have this instead, which maybe is fine, but I'm not particularly convinced as of now. So yeah. 9 we'll put at the super show level. Then after that we have Narja, who is released afterwards. Narja, I think Narja could be like, if we make it A+ tier, maybe she goes in A+. So the issue with Narja, in my opinion, match. The issue with Narja, in my opinion, is that she is, again, a character that really, really relies on having Abyss deck to really shine. And my main problem with her is that I think she's kind of been overlapped by certain characters. Because, like, I think a lot of the better characters, you don't need to have as much AP reduction, AP generation that Narja gives you. And in return, she is a worse cycler. She has a much, like, her damage buffs are all right. Like, I'm not gonna pretend they're bad, but I think her best version of Bottomless Hunger unfortunately doesn't give you veracity, so it's not even like a reliable damage buff. So she's essentially like a different she's definitely, or she's rather like Mika without the healing, which is good because Necrosis exists now. With Necrosis being the game, you really don't want to heal anymore because it seems like they're gonna put Necrosis in everything, period. But it's just like bad damage. The draw is inconsistent for after like the initial turns, and her deck therefore has to be like really, really ugly in order to pull it off. So what is this fabled Narja deck that I'm thinking of? Narja ends up having to go, like, you have to delete all of her basics as always. You delete mealtime because it's actually useless for the most part. You have these 4 cards. You delete Domain of Veracity because this card is pretty worthless if you don't have defense damage, and a lot of time you are not playing her with defense-based damage. Mika had to be stopped, yeah, she did. But yeah, so you won't be using Domain of Veracity either. So you'll be playing with these 3 cards, which is a pretty good selection, to be fair. but it's not as though we're going crazy with these three cards. So Shackles of Hunger. Hmm That emote took a moment to load. But yeah, so Shackles of Hunger obviously is like fine, but there's again no real high quality epiphany for it. The main mealtime heal is pretty good. Yes, and in Chaos. So if this is a Chaos tier list, I put 9. Ironically, now with Narja, 9 like I think 9 goes in like sharing the shill tier, but gets bumped down by 9 existing because 9 is essentially a better Narja in Chaos because, assuming you have Alcia at least, because with her Alkia, whatever her partner name is, with Alkia, you get the similar shield value or like the constant sustained value from 9 or from Narja, but you get it every turn. You're guaranteed to have a play with 9 every turn in Chaos. So even in Chaos, like it'd be like ignore Super Shill. I just have that for 9. I'll probably remove it later on in the video. But this will the tiers will look like this for Chaos in my opinion right now. Because 9 is just again, she has to have like the correct teammates, I think. But Ironclad alone pushes 9 to S tier like very easily. And Narja does have similar damage, or like does have like similar potential for damage. She does have healing as well, but even in Chaos, it's like you'd rather just kill the boss faster, and 9 does need like or Narja needs particular combinations to deal that high damage, whereas 9 usually just like charges up Q and then like does a lot of damage. And domain heal time, like it is alright, but you're likely not you don't want to play that, I think, is the main thing. Like and it's also an attack card. So you're wasting a mana on an attack card that you aren't getting much value off of. It is 5 hits. Like it is a decent amount of hits, but it's not like you're really the card's gone because they took it out. How do I add it back? Oh no, it's right here. Like 40% is not that high. Heal time. Oh, is it this one? Oh, you mean this one? Oh yeah, but I mean you're okay. You're deleting mealtime as well in like real content, in my opinion, because it's like it's free to remove essentially, right? So if you're gonna delete mealtime, you have to delete domain. Like I think the ideal Narja build does not keep either of those cards. Because in the end, like when you're outside chaos, you're going for a rushdown. You're going for like highest DPS, highest consistency, highest DPS, and all this other stuff. And Narja already fulfills the sustain through shackles. So like I think ideally you're looking at this sort of deck where you have like Bottomless Hunger. I would say this Bottomless Hunger with a Divine Epiphany of draw one, and then you copy this 3 to 4 times, and that's the ideal version. Of course, you can also still go for this other version with 3 Veracity. Like this one's also probably gonna be just fine. If you really wanted to go for, if you really want to maintain Veracity, then this is also pretty good. But it ends up being kind of conditional because now you have to play an attack card to get the reduction. But like that's pretty healthy, right? Like that's totally fine. And then this voluntary control to me ends up going into this 10 veracity and then predation every time you draw a card, just for that slightly higher oomph into your attack whenever you hit it. So like this Narja build is like not too terrible, not the best in my opinion. Like I almost honestly would even like if you could, there are certain scenarios where you can get a 2 card deck and then you convert the last card into like a lumen. So like it's very very rare. Like it's very exceedingly rare to hit this, but you can hit the propagation event after you move 5 times, and so you can convert a neutral or a basic card into Enemy Lumen. And if you're like really chasing like Gigabis, like egoing it, then you would end up doing this instead. Actually, is that even true? Yeah, it is because the convert ends up being the remove on the basic anyways. So you could potentially hit something that looks like this, and then you get an exhaust card on Rei to exhaust the Lumen. Like this is ironically possible because of the new conversion and removable rules. Because you remove all 5 cards. Oh, I guess it's not because. Oh, sorry, this isn't possible. You have to unepiphany one of these cards. Because I forget that yeah, maybe this isn't that good. I forgot that Shackles of Hunger is another basic, so you can't actually afford to remove it. You go over, it's 200 points. You've been struggling with the 20 Spore stacks for Nebula 9 achievement. Um, Here, let me bring down, I'll hide these really quickly for you.
어,
The easiest way to achieve that is by abusing
부하
Beryl.
관리는 기본 중에
This Beryl
기본.
build is not the best, but I've been using it for a lot of showcases. But this is the easiest way to get the 20 Spore stacks. It's either this or you play Orlea and you AFK for a moment. But Beryl has been pretty consistent for me. You can just do this, like play Hugo, play Luke or something, and then just like ram through something pretty quickly. Like play like the Tressa Hugo +1 attack. Although I guess at that point, oh I see. Because you need to hit 20 sports, period. Does the math work out? You have 4 spores at the start of the turn. You play 2. And you have Guilty Pleasure. Every Guilty Pleasure another 2 to 3 spores. So that'd be 10. And the last one would be 6. So you have 18 spores total. So yeah, you'd have to have 4 Guilty Pleasures to one turn the 20 spores, I guess. I don't know what about the... Well, I know they reworked the spores, so it might be a bit different as well. So I don't know how much the spore rework messes up the achievement hit. But you can just like rat it out like one turn with Beryl to fix it up. Yeah, so Narja, if you just pretend that this is the build you're going for with the quote-unquote correct shackles, maybe you can even go the shackles. Like you just ignore veracity entirely because you only need so much veracity, right? And this also like this shackles also affects this bottomless hunger. Like this is honestly like not a bad build for her. Not sure if it's on a per hit basis. I think it said it was on a per hit basis, but I didn't really read the notes that carefully, and I have not tried it myself yet. I just know they nerfed it, and then people got upset. And now, like, yeah, people are upset that they can't do 500 million damage on a boss after AFKing for, like, 7 turns in a row. Yeah, I think based on their apology letter, it sounded like they meant for it to be a per hit period. So it makes sense for it to be like now it's a per hit thing. But I don't know if they made it a per hit thing. I don't know if like they still made it so that you can stack up the 300% multiplier and then attack, or if it's just 10% more damage output on each attack. I guess you can just look at the game announcement really quickly. This isn't like it's an entire thing, right? I'll open it here. That's convenient, I guess. Flashbang. Sorry about that. Loading screen. Let's see. Okay, it does not actually list the real change here. Oops. Hmm. Oh, I found it. Oh, they also made it down to 5% instead of 10%. Wow, they really nerfed this thing. Yeah, based on the wording, it's still cumulative. If it's per attack, can't you try to build a Veronica that sort of has DPS and shield? Shielding Veronica is not gonna be very consistent, sadly. Yeah, based on this, I assume it means that it's still cumulative, so you have it's now doubling your damage at full 20 stacks. That's your reward for it. Instead of doing 30%, you're doing 100% more multiplicatively. Yeah, interesting. This build of Narja is probably one I want to see eventually. Like I want to pull up myself. 12 veracity per turn. You have 1 shackles to give your next multi hitter a big oomph. This is probably like a Rin build. Like I think yeah, I probably want this to be on Rin. Like this plus I guess it's not a draw. Still is the main issue. The problem with Rin will always be the draw is a problem. Maybe I could just keep it'd probably be Veronica Narja, and then I'd play all the reposes and stuff, and then hold the hold the spores on Veronica or Narja. Probably how you'd play the deck, but yeah. So Narja, I think A plus is maybe it is, I don't know. Because being card positive is really, really important. So I think she's A plus because she does enable card positivity pretty hard, but it's because she isn't drawing or like going she's card neutral. And she's very AP positive. But I think being card positive is more important. Reason I asked, I was using Sereniel for Nigga before this. You're going through spores anyways. Yeah, spores really punish you for having multi-hits. It's not good for multi-hits, but I'm pretty sure it is still I think it is still like a full consumption of the stacks. Based on the bug fix it offered, but I could be wrong. I don't think there's another Narja build as well, sadly. Like, that's the other issue I have with Narja. She is pretty limited into this bottomless hunger spam tech with very specifically draw one. And so it would be really annoying to hit this because bottomless hunger, it has 5 options. One of them is useless. The other one is maybe useful, but not useful for a while. You guys can't see on screen, can you? Yeah, it's too low. Like, this one is useful, but not gonna be... But, like, there is no defense multi-hitter that's good besides Narja herself and maybe Magna. And so maybe you could run this with Magna. In the scenario where you're able to generate, like, 10 counter hits and then you proc 10 counter hits, or, like, let's say, like, 4 counter hits, just or counter attacks to be, like, more realistic. This could be possible. But, this Bottomless Hunger is definitely bad. This Bottomless Hunger is only bad because there's no other alternative you're playing for Narja, unless you're playing Amir, ironically, with the Shackles. So is these two. You're looking for the base Epiphany, that's quote-unquote better. But the issue is you get no Veracity, probably, so it's like, how are you playing? How are you getting the discounts without Veracity? You also can't get draw one, so this base Epiphany can only get Morale. Actually, it could get 1 AP, can't it? Or I don't think it can. Because the way that I think 0 AP works is that, like, Morale, Resolve, Fortitude, they all start at base 1, but Draw, AP, and all those other cards start at base 0. So you can't trigger those text effects because they're at 0 values. So that's why you always get +1 Morale, +1 Resolve, whatever. So you have... And I'm pretty sure the base Epiphanies are like 1 generic proc. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of hitting the correct Divine Epiphany. Just straight up. On the bright side, the Divine Epiphanies for this, I don't think you get Coordinate Attack. You can't get Shield, and there's no healing. So you can only get +1 AP or +1 draw. So you're seeing a 1 in 3 into a 50-50 on Bottomless Hunger. So this Narja build is probably not even that hard to build. So honestly, on the vibes alone, like, I would probably say she's like more of a S- because she probably won't drive you crazy building that. Oh, that was the game telling me that I have that open for 2 hours. Yeah, so vibes tier list, definitely A plus, I think, for that alone. Like top of A. I'll probably move it to S- once more characters are in. The next character, we're going to be looking at Sereniel. So Sereniel, I think, will stay in S for now. She is like the original super shill, but she's actually good. They have to nerf a lot of stuff, and she's still probably like blasting through things. A plus sounds good, yeah. Senmetsu. I feel like Sereniel doesn't really have to be doesn't need much reasoning for why she's S tier compared to everyone else. But I might as well just talk about the builds I have thought of, or the build that I'm looking for myself, and probably the build that most people are searching for at the moment. So Sereniel, as every other character, you delete the basics, you delete Cobalt Light and Pale Shooting Star. This is my personal take on Sereniel, at least, right? Plasma Missile turns into the upgrade version so that you can get rid of it. Shining Core turns into the one that you can select. And then you select the exact same one that you're going to be trying to quad dupe, which is going to be at start of turn, move to hand. And then also +1 AP, or... And it's just +1 AP, right? Yeah, it's just +1 AP. And so this way, you copy this 4 times. You have no arena mods at 180 save data. Hitting this, unfortunately, will take a bit because you hit a 1 in 5 into all of this trash. It's a 1 in 5 into a 1 in 7. So this is really, really hard to get. But your reward is that you're guaranteed +4 AP a turn. No matter what. You're guaranteed +4 AP a turn with 5 extra hits. And depending on the order of how the game works, this can even deny the bleed effect or on start turn generate a curse card effect that a lot of bosses may or may not have. And the other benefit of this build is that it's not subjected to the anti-Sereniel mechanic of denying you generated cards, because that's how they were nerfing Sereniel, and like soft nerfing Cassius and stuff. So this is by far her best build. And obviously, like, I think even if you miss a homing laser, like, obviously that sucks to not have all 4, but even this is like totally fine because you sometimes will have a retained card in hand. So like this will allow you to retain that card if you really wanted to. But yeah, this essentially makes Sereniel like not only she's draw neutral, but she draws everything immediately. So you start the turn with 4 AP, maybe even 5 because you get 4 tenacity damage, guaranteed, because you're never gonna run out of Afterglow because it fully cycles Afterglow with this homing laser. Yeah, it might take you like entire week, even with season 2 buffs, to get this exact build, but it'll be pretty powerful for hitting it. Especially since like you have to remember this plasma missile upgrade, you're getting all of these back. So these are plus 150% damage amounted homing lasers. And then if you break, they're now plus 300% homing lasers. So even these homing lasers, while they are essentially just like Mika source of water, like not they are kind of Mika source of waters where they replace themselves. I mean, yeah, it pretty much is Mika source of waters, but they're once again dodging they're dodging necrosis because you're not healing. There's only like one healing item that's good. It's like Bloodstone from Blue Pot or something, I think. Like that's the only item that heals you like on turn hit. Or you could go for the seasonal, or is it Foretold Ruins? There is an accessory that gives you healing, like 10% healing for critting, which is really, really bad, by the way. Like this item is pretty horrendous. It's like tiny healing because your DPS characters will rarely have actual defense. But Sereniel will proc this occasionally, and you'll get like maybe like 10, 15 HP back a turn, maybe 20 if you ever really built up high. So she can support through that. Obviously, you can also just have like raw damage output. Like you can just have cube or something as well, and that'd be perfectly fine. But yeah, she's S tier. Everything in the future will be either denying Sereniel her ability to play the game, which this cannot be denied for the most part, if we're being honest. The only way this is denied is if they add the replace your hand and draw 10 cards again, but even that's like not really deniable because like you will draw these again, and you can't replace your entire hand with 10 cards every turn. And if it's replace your hand with 10 cards and draw for each 10, it's like not even a real demerit regardless. So yeah, Sereniel is gonna be like pretty future proof. I think building this deck is probably one of the safer decks to build for the rest of the season, just because the odds they can nerf this is so low. I think the only real way they're nerfing this is going to be if they add in additional action monsters. But even that is actually good for Sereniel, because if they add additional attack monsters or just extra action monsters like the blue pot ones, then Magna gets buffed. And that actually benefits, like Sereniel is even better because you can trigger more Magna counterattacks or counterattacks from 9, for example. Like any character that wants to counterattack, Sereniel will now benefit them because you're going to be triggering these attacks. And obviously, ideally, you're going to be running shields on these Vanguard comps as well. So you can live through the counterattacks that are coming out. Now, there is the other counterexample of them including like sturdiness, where they have it so that you gain defense or you reduce damage taken every time you take a hit. That's probably the only way they can actually nerf Sereniel to a realistic degree. And if that's the case, it is what it is. Like that's like a really boring way of nerfing the character out of the meta, but it probably is the only way you can nerf Sereniel out of the meta, is by giving bosses plus 20% damage reduction every time they get hit. So yeah, if it's that game breaking, like you're nerfing out basically the entire cast besides 9 from the game. And so if that's the power that Sereniel has, then yeah, she definitely deserves S tier from that. And there's really no other option for Sereniel at the moment. Like everything else is really mediocre. unless they allow her to be. And it's also past her time, so I doubt she's going to be shilled after that. Chizuru, I'm putting in A tier, maybe even B tier, honestly. I think she's not worth the effort. I think people, like, cope really hard. Okay, this is me just being a hater, right? I think Chizuru is in B tier because she is low-key a worse Rin in almost every build she does. Um, she has no support capabilities. She requires as precise of a build as Sereniel for a lot of her builds, and you're not even getting a massive benefit out of it anyways. So I think a lot of people hype Chizuru because she is really cool and her animations are really cool and she has a lot of other things going on. But I don't think she's like actually that amazing. Like of a character, period. So what are the Chizuru builds? I think Chizuru builds are pretty have been pretty laid out for a while now. But same story as always. You delete all the basics. Um, you probably still delete Bound at Dusk. I know that they buffed it a lot. I think there is one iteration of Bound at Dusk where no, you can't even keep Bound at Dusk because you need to have draw on either Oni Hunt or Tsukiyomi, unfortunately, or else you can't afford anything. Maybe with Narja. So I guess with Narja, you could still run Bound at Dusk, but the issue with Narja is that you're probably wanting +1 draw Tsukiyomi at that point, so you can't even get AP. They made Bound at Dusk, they buffed it so that you can actually gain AP through Chizuru's own cards, but if you're using +1 AP on Tsukiyomi, you can't cycle. So if you can't cycle, you can't access the buffs needed. And Tsukiyomi itself is not even like the good version of Chizuru because it's hit limited. So the version I'm thinking of, just as like just to put it out there, it would look something like this probably. It's one of these Will-O-Wisps. I presume it'd be like, yeah, I presume it'd be this Tsukiyomi with +1 AP, 4 Will-O-Wisp per hit. You have Bound at Dusk, so now your Shadow of the Moon Plus is gonna be a 3-hit card. Your Oni Hunts, I'm pretty sure you just go to this Oni Hunt. Like, I know that these, I don't know if you can see this properly because the window's small. That's my bad. Maybe we'll just pull over my camera. Just so you can see the card. But yeah, so all these Oni Hunts, they buffed it to be plus 100% flat damage. Oh, there it goes. But the reason why I think it's like kind of irrelevant is because this upgrade version is just 20% worse, but you don't have to play it anymore. So it's card neutral permanently. So I'm pretty sure you're still playing this Oni Hunt. Because the idea is with this, and you're gonna play the zero cost Karmic Flames because you don't want to draw it. With this Tsukiyomi, when you play the Tsukiyomi on top of... Actually, I should test this deck. And maybe I should play this Chizuru deck. I didn't even look at this math, because even free-to-play can pull this off. So the way that Cursed Shackles work, if you don't know, is that it gives you a Wisp for every hit you do. And then this Will-O-Wisp is giving you 4 extra Will-O-Wisps for each hit you do. So between this Tsukiyomi and this Karmic Flames, you are fully refunding a Bind 3 on a Bind 3 Shadow of the Moon Plus. Every time you play Shadow of the Moon Plus with Bound at Dusk active, you fully refund it. So that means that for every Tsukiyomi you play, you're getting another Shadow of the Moon Plus. Because again, Inhibit gives you +1 attack, or yeah, +1 hits to Shadow of the Moon Plus. Shadow of the Moon Plus is base 2 hits. So you have 3 hits. 3 hits times 5 is 15. And so you can play, at that point, you don't even need the +1 AP. You just full cycle a million Shadow of the Moon Pluses. So you don't even need to bind 50 on this. I can actually test this really easily then. That's... Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Or maybe I'll just cut the Tierlist stream short and test this out if I get bored of yapping about the tier list. Because yeah, this actually looks like kind of interesting. So you can even delete the Shadow Moon Plus if you really wanted to, but you're probably running Rei with this build regardless, just to get the buffs on Chizuru. And again, obviously, like, with the acknowledgement that you can go draw instead and still keep Inhibit, you just go draw +1, 4 copies. And so then the idea is that you prep everything. You could even just play all these instantly because you go 16. Maybe you can't play them all. Yeah, you do need to space this out sadly because if you play them all, you'll need E2 Chizuru. Because if you play all these, that means your next Shadow Moon Plus is gonna be 3. This is 16. 16 times 3 is 48 plus 9. You're gonna overgenerate your binds, so you do have to play these one at a time. For Shadow Moon Plus. So there is a question of how you're gonna cycle. Like if you draw one of these Tsukuyomis too early, is that not good enough? But I guess on the other side, you're drawing 4 Tsukuyomis, guaranteed. Rei will Ray will. Sorry, I'm distracted now. So we have this Chizuru deck. Let me just do the thing. Just have to reset that. If I do a vodka, this video's gonna be like 7 hours long. Let's see. The Ray build, I'd want you kill Strike of Darkness because we're not doing that. So it's already a really, really ugly deck. You're gonna be going for Void card. I mean, Void card, this one or this one are fine. We'll go Void for the Whimsy. Dark Condensation ends up being probably this Dark Condensation. You would delete Predator Blade. Unless you divine this. If you can divine this into +1 draw, then you can do like this, maybe. No, you can't because this won't stack properly. So if you divine this into this, you can maybe get Predator's Blade value. The only problem with Predator's Blade is that you can't ever draw with Predator's Blade. You have 5 cards. You need to go. Ray will hold bags. Yeah, but that's only useful on the first turn, right? Like you'll have this, and because you're deleting all, so it's 80 off deleting all the basics, and then gear bag. I'm looking at. If you have 3, okay, 80, no Divine Epiphany. Oh no, 1 Divine Epiphany for Predator's Blade. So that's 100. You can have 3 to 4 gear bags with +1 AP. So you can essentially guarantee that you play everything with +1 AP or just get +1 morale. Exhaust bags for morale, it'll end up being better. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, you can also just, like, yeah, not have Predator Blade. Have this as no Divine Epiphany. Then have 4. That's what I was thinking is actually the better Ray version, honestly. The only issue is that, like, hitting this is, like, so RNG. Like, hitting this will be... Like, if you can hit... Let me just look at these gear bags. I don't even know why I made these manually. Like, if you can hit this, crazy. Because this is essentially a better version of having Predator's Blade, because you no longer have to play Predator's Blade. You just have 4 morale for free. And that is very possible. And so your turns would end up being, you play Dark Condensation 1, and then you just play 4 gear bags, and that's, like, pretty crazy. And then your other character would end up being, like, Beryl or something, with, like, spores just to stack morale. Because in the end, like, obviously, spore stacking is still bad, but Beryl spore morale generation is still good in the end. So you can still do Beryl with all that. If you're wondering about the Beryl build, I guess there's like also a divine version of it that you could go for. But the Beryl idea would end up being like, it's gonna be pretty difficult to set up. I guess if you don't care about spores anymore, not as hard. You would go this, you would go this, you delete these, delete that. This becomes activate all retain. And then you can obviously like having +1 AP is useless if you're going Chizuru, but you have 1 draw instead. Just a really guarantee. Like you have draw 2, which would be kind of nuts, honestly. I don't even know if it's possible to draw 2 on this, but it should be. But you have like this ×4. And if you have this, then you can have like then you can have more Predator's blades. Like if you do all this, you can run like 3 Predator blades, 4 Predator blades on no, just 3 Predator blades. 2. You run 2 Predator blades. You can have 3, assuming you get this as -1 AP. You can have 3. Because this is now possible for you. And then you have 1 gear bag with AP. So you can go for this, for Rei. Because, yeah, you have draw 2, so you're guaranteed to draw everything on Beryl. Plus 12 morale. This is for Resonating Darkness if you hit. Snack time. Hopefully you just get the optional snack time. Select and exhaust. Up to 2. In case there's other shenanigans. You can even delete a Spore. That's right, you need to have Spore here as well. This is like this Beryl. And then you have this Chizuru. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I haven't made this deck obviously, so I don't know I don't know what the peak is. If it's gonna end up being good, then great. But I have no idea if it's good. But with this idea, you have 12 morale from Beryl or from Rei. You have even more morale from Beryl from doing the Spore Cheese, and then you have another 40% damage amount from Rei. Bind 3. I didn't realize about Bind, but Bind actually has an additional additive multiplier because you're fusing other Shadow Moons into it. So your Bind 3 will be 360% damage already. So multiplicative is already kind of like odd, but you're getting 360 damage times 3 from Bind 3. And then so, yeah, it's additive with itself, which I did not know. Would it be interesting to try and get a mix of... Oh no, actually I think it's 80%. It's not 120, because otherwise Bind 5 would be 600%. And I don't think it hits 600. I think it's like 400. Mix of +2 Shadow of the Moon Plus with another +4 Will-O-Wisp. Full Bind 5. A mix of the +2. What do you mean? Like the... Oh, I see. From the add 2 hits. Well, the only issue, I think, is that you're trading off Bind 3 for... You're trading off 2 Bind 3 casts for 2 Bind 5 casts, if that makes sense. And keep in mind as well that if you are at... What are Chizuru's potentials, actually? Chizuru's E2 is Shadow of the Moon, right? So keep in mind that if you have E2 Chizuru, you are not creating Bind 3 cycling, you're creating Bind 4 cycling. So it's actually almost never correct to go for the Bind 5 idea, because you'd rather just generate a new Shadow of the Moon Plus. Not even mentioning, if you are somebody who has E6 Chizuru, you're actually full cycling Bind 5, right? Because you're having 4 hits now. 4 hits with this times 5 is 20, and then you get 5 more Will-O-Wisp for free. So you're getting 25 back. So I see what you mean with the Bind 5 thing. But in the end, you'd rather just have more hits because you're already heavily investing into additive multipliers. So you don't need the Bind 3 or the Bind 5 jump of like +2, of +160 or +200 or +120, whatever the number is from stacking binds. You don't need that because you already have, like, again, assuming that we're chasing this like this BIS concept of like Rei and Beryl, you have 12 morale. This is technically 2 morale, so you have 14 morale from Rei. That's 280%. Is that 280%? 12 times 2 is 240. Yeah, 280% multiplier from Rei, and then Beryl like ranges from like 3 to 3 to 15 on average on your luck, which is another like, and I just like call it in half. Like, just say you get like 8 morale return from Beryl, another 160. You're getting 440% more damage. So you'd rather just have the 6 extra hits from the Oni Hunt because you play 2 more of them as opposed to getting the flat amount. In my opinion, at least. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, so it is actually interesting then. Like maybe this is good because you again you get to loop it permanently because you're playing. Oh, but it says okay. I guess the other issue is that I don't know. Does this get saved? Has anyone played Chizuru with this Shadow of the Moon Plus? Oh, with his Bound of Dusk upgrade? Because if I play Shadow of the Moon Plus and then I play Tsukiyomi, does that consume this Bound of Dusk upgrade? Because if it does, this idea is dead before it even starts. But I don't know if this is eaten by a zero cost. Because it might be. So if it's not eaten by zero cost, the build will be really fun to watch. Like it'll be really funny. You can cast like 5 Shadow of the Moon pluses in a row, no problem. Even more because you have Predator Blade doing a few hits for you. Um, yeah, I don't know. It really depends on the actual meaning of a next one card. Yeah, I guess I'll have to test it and try because I really don't know. I generally don't know if this is gonna work out with the wording of this Down at Dusk. Yeah, so Cheeseburger's beats her because like even I saw I like watched I forgot it was WG or Cosmic, but I watched someone trying to lab Chizuru, and they were doing something really not this barrel build, but they were using Narja, and they were doing some like crazy like combination of like the bottomless hunger with veracity, and then they even had the +1 draw on divine, and it was like some crazy like combo going, and they were like turn foring the Nebula boss, which is not bad. Like that's obviously not bad, but for having like the Bis Narja build and then having like this Chizuru concept, like all these like random levers going on, like clearly it was a lot of work, and a lot of like puzzle pieces being slotted in. All that and it's not even like beat out like a min deck on weakness hitter. Like not all that to barely beat out like Rin plus Hugo, and the Rin has the completely wrong epiphany on one of their cards. Like it's like I'm not particularly convinced that it's that good or Cheeser's like good at all if she's doing all that work for minimal effort. So yeah, that's why Cheeser ends up being in B tier for me. And then next we are going to go to there's also a lot of other builds for Chizuru, but they're all pretty mid in my opinion. Yuki, I'm gonna put next up. It's gonna be a hot take. I'm still coping on the Yuki propaganda, but I think Yuki is like worse than Chizuru technically, but she is probably around the same space. Especially after I lab Yuki recently, I'm pretty like it's not good damage. 5 turning is not that impressive, but it's like I think if you didn't know what Yuki went through before, you would be more or you'd be less impressed with Yuki. But knowing that Yuki had no single target at all in the previous patch, to now having like being able to 5 turn and off or on element boss to be fair, so it is worse. But it's not even a good Yuki build, or it's not a perfect Yuki build for what I had. To be fair, like my Yuki build could have been better, and I did want to be better. So you would have the inspiration prepared subdue. You would have the trickery blade here. And I know in my highlight video I was playing this last, but that was just for like the fun of it. You should be playing trickery blade first the moment you draw it, so that you can play prepare subdue immediately. And then ideally you get the +1 morale, my bad, +3 morale flash slash with I guess you don't need the divine epiphany anymore, but you could like play around. Like this is like if we're gonna pretend that we have super giga turbo bis, you would have like 2 with 2 without, in my opinion. Oh whoops. Like your build will look like this. So this is you still have you have an extra 20 points back from longsword slash, and then you have that silly card that I had in the video rage. Oh shoot, I held refresh. There goes the build. Oh my god. You yeah, that's an awkward mistake. You have these. Copy, remove that. Copy this. You have the correct Trickery Blade. You have the correct Freezing Blade. And then you just fill out the rest with the card that I don't think anyone's seen before, Rage, and you either have +3 morale, or you have the option to draw 2 because of the fact that it is a 2-mana card. Actually, it's only draw 1. Awkward. So it can cycle itself. Worst comes to worst. But yeah, obviously you'd rather have draw +3 morale. So this is like the ideal Yuki build, and with this, like I do genuinely think this is like ironically very, very close to what Chizuru does. Or not close. It's like 30% worse than what Chizuru can do with the Gigabis, but the difference is that like Yuki is also auto clearing all the AoE mobs. And I think people, again, main issue is that the content doesn't exist to prove that, right? No one's ever gonna be like, oh yeah, she's like Yuki's so strong because she cleaves all these monsters at the same time. Like that's not happening. But this is like a lot of extra hits, right? Because you have 3 hits now extra from Freezing Blade, Tricky Strike. You have 6 cards, so that means you have 18 extra hits that you did not have before on a previous patch. Because now all these are like even Subdue is doing +3 hits, so you have 18 hits. Unfortunately, the morale, because you're playing all these inspiration cards earlier, you can't benefit fully from all the morale stacking. That's what Chizuru has over Yuki in this regard, is the fact that sorry, back to the Chizuru thing. I just realized even if Bound at Dusk, like my Bound at Dusk worry wasn't even relevant because you're playing Shadow of the Moon. No, you do have to play Will-O-Wisp. Never mind, it doesn't matter. My bad, sorry. I thought I forgot the order, but you do have to play Shadow of the Moon into Will-O-Wisp and Shadow of the Moon again. So yeah, my bad. Back to the actual Yuki thing. You get 12 morale from here, another 12, so you get 15 morale overall from herself. And so then the last 2 hits you have, Longsword Slash and Iceberg Cleave, are fully empowered by 15 morale, which is something that you vaguely saw on my YouTube video because I also had 18 morale on there because I had extra morale from Rei and other characters. So you can see that, like, again, not particularly insane, but also it is still as hard as I would say Chizuru to hit. I think Chizuru might actually be easier because you're hitting a very specific flash slash and then you have to dupe it in order to split it apart in order to afford the rage, I think. Actually, no. These all can be -1 because I forgot that the reason why you need a the reason why okay, yeah, because you have 20 points extra, so you can actually do this. Like this is actually totally feasible. So it's not even yeah. It's like actually just as hard as the I mean, it is still harder, but it's not as hard as I thought it was gonna be, because you do get the 20 points back to afford the rage. But then you have to hit the Rage Epiphany, which is obviously difficult. But yeah, like again, it's better than expected. She also is like a very good quality of life character because again, like it's less pronounced now because of how they reworked simulation quests. But it's like the damage is there for the most part, and it is doing AoE. It is if there are like shitter mobs, it is still RNG on where the hits land, but eventually you'll clear all the AoE mobs, whether by accident or on purpose, and then you'll be able to kill the final mob by themselves. And actually no, if you take out rage, yeah, I guess rather if you take out rage, there is also an ironic benefit where if you have like a really card positive character, like somehow you have a single target character that can also draw, like for example Beryl. What you can do is you can draw with the other character, and then you still have like you can somehow play Yuki, and then continue drawing. Or maybe let's just go in a different direction and say that your other character is you can't draw. Never mind, you can't draw with this morale thing. There's no +1 draw for Divine Epiphany cards, so you do unfortunately have to play it this way. So yeah, there is like Yuki does have like some funny interactions going on. Like what I was going to say was that there is a world where you somehow get like this going on. You get like 2 epiphanies here, you get 2 epiphanies here, and so that way when you play Subdue, you're guaranteed to draw 2 flash slashes, right? And then if you draw the other, like if you just cycle Subdues, you can draw these. You can even like take one of these out. You can't dupe again, but yeah. You can like have Yuki be like a pseudo Sereniel where you fully draw all the flash slashes every turn, and so you can have like a free +9 morale and AoE damage and extra damage on your character. Like that is also another side of Yuki that people don't really explore, which is again, it's kind of like a worse Sereniel, to be completely honest, but it is another like sub DPS option that no one's really talked about, and is possible, and it might be funny to do. But because of that, again, like it's like a lot of potential woman, and with Chizuru also being a version of potential woman, like that's why I'm comfortable with putting her with Yuki, because being potential woman is not a good thing. Haru buffs are good. I don't think it makes anything crazy. There was a video of somebody setting up like a one-turn kill against the 475 boss with, once again, full crit RNG on their anchors. So they had a really impressive run. Don't get me wrong. They had the like Bis Haru setup for that particular interaction. But in the end, like you needed to have, again, you had to have perfect Narja for that. You had to have setup previously for multiple turns because it's tower. That means they were allowed to set for multiple turns, which is why it ended up working out. The build in question looked like, I don't think I had the perfect build in mind, but I think they kept anchor to buff up the damage. They had create, and then I didn't realize, but it actually keeps the -1 AP cost when you create it, which is obviously very good. They had retrieve anchor shot 4 times, and then they had some stuff deleted. I don't know what. Cardiac regimen. And yeah, so they had this build, and obviously, again, Lift Anchor, I'm not sure if they had or not, but they definitely had this setup. And so what ended up happening is that they had 12 attacks from Anchor Shot because they had 3, and then they applied Anchor Pointer 4 times, so that's actually 15 hits, right? So 15 Anchor Shots maxed out. Again, pretty good. Like that's very, very solid. They also had an additive bonus from Anchor. They also had Narja with like some veracity, I assume, and I forgot who the other character was, but I assume that their last character was like either another buffer or a card draw to actually make it happen. So 15 anchor pointers or 15 anchor shots fully charged. That is what, 1100 damage. That's a lot better than Chizuru, I'll say. But the only problem is that it's hella setup. And the issue with having that hella setup requirement, unfortunately, means that like the more realistic version of Haru, the one that like you'll see more classically, like the one that I played for my Haru build, that one will end up being like this sort of thing where you have this anchor pointer or this anchor shot that scales better, and then you just have like either plus crit, like a mix of like plus crit and plus damage anchor shots from it as well. And the main issue with this one is that it's another instance of like having to scale it up, because obviously you like the retrieve. Retrieve is a lot higher for turn 1, but the problem with retrieve is that it's also only on turn 1, so you can't ever have like 10, you can't ever do the 11 anchor shot consistently. You can only do 6 anchor shots consistently turn over turn, which does limit her damage by quite a large amount. And then you can go this upgrade charge energy, and then lift anchor you can keep if you have good card draw on your supports. This ends up being like, again, a lot better than what it was before. Like it's like Yuki tiers of buffs, from where she went from like where her damage has gone up like almost double, if not like maybe not double, maybe like 70%, right? Massive buff, but it's still not making her like giga powerful, especially with the spore nerfs, because she has a lot of self buffs, but spores now no longer being as good means that she doesn't get as much value. Honestly, you should probably not even, this should probably be vulnerable, if we're being honest, this anchor pointer. Like just have the generic anchor pointer epiphany with common vuln, just so that you can be self-sufficient with that on Haru. So yeah, again, a lot better than before, but not particularly impressive. And again, that tower build that they did would be consistently 15 hits after you get it all set up. So it is, again, very impressive once you have it all set up, but you have to generate the anchor shots. And in order to generate the anchor shots, you, I think you have to play it. So it takes at least 2 turns of setup, but your reward, actually no, it takes 1 turn of setup if you're lucky, because you play this and you bounce it back with anchor pointer. Like you get the, okay, yeah, it's only 1 turn of setup if you have the right build. My bad. It's only one turn, yeah. It's the same, like, charging for all the anchor shots, so, like, you have to I think you have to recharge all of them, or maybe it remembers the charge it was at. But if you retrieve this anchor shot, and then you pull it back, you can create it again. And, yeah. Because it probably doesn't create with this line, it probably just creates with the everything else around it. So you can even turn one with a lot of anchor shots, but once again, you do have to field them all. But because it's Narja, your cards will actually memorize the -1 AP cost, so that's why they're able to play all the anchor shots. So this is actually way stronger. Yeah, this is definitely way stronger than the other anchor shots. Like, I think you might want like a draw one on a few of these. Again, this is like assuming Giga High Roll, right? You would get a draw one Divine Epiphany, and then you like dupe it 3 times, and then you like flip one of these last ones to being generic, which again might be a little bit impossible. I don't know why this is deleting like that. Whatever, you get the point. Like, just imagine this is flipped. 3 draw ones, 1 non, 180 points. Maybe you just go again the generic ones without draw ones, and you just have like an arena equip or two. But it will be interesting, and it is pretty good. It is definitely better than Chizuru in my opinion, because again, unlike Haru, Chizuru has no feats in my opinion. She has not turned one anything that is above 50k HP from what I can see. It's all like turn 2, turn 3, which Haru is doing, but then Haru's like peak from charging all that is a lot higher. So, and also her animations are better. Luke, I'm gonna put Luke in A tier with Haru. Maybe like maybe like 1 point higher, just because he can turn one. But it is also against a order weak character. Like nobody else is order weak. But Luke is gonna be this tier just because of Hugo. Hugo is probably in Super Shill, by the way. S minus tier. That's probably what will go when he's probably an S tier actually. Hugo's pretty broken. But yeah, Luke, basically the exact same thing we'll be looking at, or like that he's always been doing. It's very, very like nothing's changed for this guy. He's still going either retrieve or 3-hit. If you're going for the OTK version, you're gonna go for the retrieve. That's this one, and then you obviously want the 0 cost version to make it cheaper and playable. But once again, with Narja support, like you could probably play Narja, Hugo, Luke with the correct Narja setup. You just hit rallies on Narja. That's honestly like that sounds pretty possible actually. Yeah, you get not rallies, gear bags. You get gear bags on Narja. You get some extra draw somehow on Hugo, and then you don't need the Divine Epiphany on Rapid Fire, but you prefer it just to make your life easier with RNG and consistency's sake. And then you know, as always, you'll dupe this a few times just to like get it going. I guess if you're going for like my barrel version, you don't want to dupe this, but no, you still want to dupe. Or my bad, you're going the barrel version, you don't want Narja, so you do need the Divine Epiphany on Rapid Fire. And then this ends up being just like any old like version, like probably this 2-mana cost, because you would probably be able to afford it if you have this Rapid Fire. You don't have Seize the Opportunity, but if you somehow manage to afford this, you just go the for 1 turning, you go plus 70% value. Otherwise, you're going for the upgrade, which is like pretty okay as an upgrade. Like there's way better than this out there, but it's fine. Finish rounds irrelevant. Even Dance of the Demon is pretty irrelevant now, just because they nerfed it so hard. Like you just have it like a funny like 1 damage finisher at the very end of your turn, but it's obviously like very irrelevant. And probably, like, I think even the 3-cost Dance of the Demon is better because at least this way, you get it's 0 cost when you cast it. But yeah, you do this. You either if there's no elasticity, you obviously just like do a billion hits with Dance of Demon. If there is elasticity, you play Hugo, and then Hugo starts doing coordinated attacks infinitely, and Hugo's carrying that. But obviously, Luke would be a very good engine for that because if you have Beryl or Spores, each singular Spore will fully fund each Rapid Fire because the Rapid Fire is 4 hits or 5 hits total with this retrieve. So you're gonna play 1 Spore, or you're gonna play like yeah, like one spore into rapid fire, play all 5 rapid fires, and then play guilty pleasure. If you have hand space, you play another rapid fire, or you play a guilty explore, and then you play all 5 rapid fires and do it again. Like you can even just like cycle at like upkeep at like 3 or like 2 or 3 hunting instincts to max out Hugo's coordinated attack, because you will just have that much flexibility with contaminated spores. And then yeah, like something like one turn, like this is what, 12 hits. My bad, this is 5. So this is 20 hits. 20 hits means 20 coordinated attacks from Hugo, um, which is gonna like more than enough kill the boss, and probably a lot of bosses, if we're being honest, on one turn. And genuinely, like there is a very real scenario where again you're going for the 3-hit version, and this is again Hugo abuse, where you have the 3-hit version. Again, you play Beryl, and you just cycle what this is 4, so this is 12 hits, and this stealth reload, you just go this is 12 hits plus 3, 15 hits overall. Like 15 hits with coordinate attack Hugo. A lot of things are probably not surviving that with like some morale buffs somewhere else. Like you get like divine epiphanies on Hugo to get +1 morale and everything. So there's a pretty disgusting stuff you can do with Luke, obviously, which Hugo would directly benefit. You could even just run I mean, there's not space with this rapid fire, funnily enough, but yeah. So yeah, Hugo goes in A because again, he is not a potential man. He has feats, and basically like the main distinction between A and B tier is that it's like people have proven that you can do stuff, and again, Chizuru, like people have proven she lacks is my main problem with her. Khalipe, I'm gonna put an A+ tier actually. This might be a funny take, but if you've been playing Khalipe more, this is mostly because of 9. The reason why Khalipe, in my opinion, is actually up in A+ instead of being in A tier is because you can now much more directly benefit her, because 9 now exists. You can get a lot of value off of her volt trajections. It's a lot more consistent to get these values, a lot more consistent to even build the thin Khalipe decks that you want. And she also gets the massive benefit of having arena enhancements actually help her. Obviously, if you're going for quadruple divine dupe, then you can't get the arena benefits. But even without that, you can still get like +1 AP. You can get plus 20% damage. And as I found out on stream just today, it seems like Silverveil is actually a card being played. At least I don't know if it's like a bug, but with Millennium Arbor, which is the rare weapon from the seasonal chaos that gives you vulnerability after activating a 3 AP cost or higher card. It's activating after Silverveil, so I don't know what's up with that, but there's a lot of synergy with, she can vuln herself, so her damage is even higher. She can even apply like a bunch of agony if you're doing that for some reason. She'd apply, I think like 12, 15 agony, assuming that Gastronomicon works on Silverveil, which is not good because obviously agony scales off of attack, and Khalipe is a Vanguard, so she has a lot of defense, but it's another like funny interaction that you could go for if you are running the agony set for some reason on a character. She will provide you the agony that you need. And locking that Vuln is also like, you do lose a Vuln from Millennium Arbor, but like that's not a big deal because she's amping herself, and I'm assuming that your other character is a true carry, and if you're running the 10% agony set, then you'd rather have that character do more damage anyways, so it's fine. And so Khalipe, if you're around for the 9 analysis, this will be a bit redundant, but we'll just go through it again for anyone new that's joined and lurking and chatting. Delete all 3 of these. Destroy Aquila. Destroy this. I don't know. Is there another card here? Like you can keep it basic, just because that way you do save a bit more save data. But ideally, you run into those rare runs where you don't get the final epiphany. Is the main issue on Khalipe. And obviously you can run like nutrition, absorption. There's a lot of neutrals that exist. There's Rei that exists that allows you to start the issue of having an extra card. But very ideally, and this is possible by the way, because you can, like, if you guys don't know, this is a tech you can do on chaoses. If you've managed to dodge, like for example, I'm playing this Khalipe run, and I have not epiphanied overpower. And then on the final boss, I see there's the glow on a card. I don't play that card for the entire final boss, so I dodge the epiphany proc. What you can do to further dodge the epiphany proc while still getting your final copy, while still getting access to the mythic item, while still getting access to the hammer, is that you can just click on those manually, like obviously in the top right, you'll see the tabs. You can click on each tab besides the Latent Epiphany manually, and then also for the game, and then reopen it. And the game, because you can't escape at that point, the game will give you an error for escaping. You can also for the game will ask you, do you want to escape the chaos that you were in earlier? And if you click escape at that point, you dodge the final epiphany. So you do lose the final, like you do lose that chaos. It doesn't let you keep that chaos, ironically enough, but it lets you succeed that chaos and keep the -1 deck for free, right? So that's like what I did with Beryl, and that's something that is a tech you can do if you didn't know that existed. That is how you cheese out one more remove, get that Fabled 6 removal. And obviously, once again, there is the very, very rare instance where you like rush all of your removes very early on because you got early shops, you got early event remove, and then you hit propagation, which is an interior event chaos node, event node, and then propagation will occasionally give you a convert basic into Ebony Lumen. And while that isn't like particularly great, obviously again, you do have ways of proccing Ebony Lumen automatically. You can get the arena mod that activates exhaust cards automatically for any character, and then that will activate on Khalipe regardless. You can get nutrition absorption again. Adding a neutral card will deny you, unfortunately, of the quad dupe Divine Epiphany, but you can just use nutrition absorption on a different character, which will also solve it. And then you can also just play nutrition absorption manually. If you have the Divine dupe Khalipe, you probably have hella excess AP regardless, so it's not even that bad of a card to play, because it also will activate your Vulture Ejections. But with all that said, the Vulture Ejections in question, you're either going to go for the draw 2 on activation for like insane card draw, or you're going for the +1 AP, which is much more classic. And then if you're going for the Divine Epiphany version, you are going to end up having the Divine Epiphany Vulture Ejection. So if you're going for the like super giga, I am cosplaying Super Mika Khalipe build, you can end up seeing a deck like this, which is obviously very, very good. +8 AP. Sadly, this obviously means that you cannot get the +1 AP from arena enhancements. But if you have a deck like what I have, where you don't have this Epiphany, you end up having, okay, I don't know why the site does that. But you'll end up having the space for like the nutrition absorption tech to like have a fake 2-card deck. You can get the arena enhancements, like probably 2 honestly, where you do end up having activate your exhaust, play an exhaust, draw, like get 1 AP on playing a 3-mana card to like be closer. But this is just really good because again, for obvious reasons, with 9 being now the super shill of the patch, and hopefully the season, honestly. Because if 9's not super chill for the entire season, I think she feels even worse because of the inevitable power creep that's going to happen. Whatever. Because with 9 probably being relevant, or hopefully high AP cost being relevant for the rest of the season, Khalipe will automatically activate. And so, again, very realistically, the Khalipe deck will probably end up being some form of like draw 2 with +1 AP. And you probably will not go all 3 of these. You'll probably only go 2 of these because, let's be honest, like if you have +1 AP and draw 2, like 3 of these is more than enough. You have Pot of Greed on steroids with this. And then you'll have the Celestial Rally to give you 1 more card. So Khalipe ends up being a +3 card positive, as well as whatever tech you use to get rid of that last basic that is sticking around because you missed the conversion card. And yeah, that is like very, very powerful. Like I will be, again, I'll be posting a video of like Khalipe 9 with Ironclad, just like, again, not even close to BIS on, I mean, the 9 build is like pretty close to BIS, but the Khalipe build has a lot of improvement because I have no Divine Epiphany and I have other things. Sereno's on a different tier. Yeah, Sereno's on a different tier. Yeah, so I think Khalipe is super good. Not a potential woman at all. And pretty good support. Especially if there's shields. Magna, I'm gonna put A tier. Maybe B tier. No, I think she's A tier because I don't know. The issue with Magna is that she has to be shielded. Like she has to have defense base damage increases in order to really shine. And again, with Narja, like you could maybe make a Narja build that really enhances Magna, but then you then on the other hand need to get content where the boss multi hits you and does it every turn. So Magna like ranges from like B tier to A tier based on that alone. I'm gonna put B tier just because once again, like much like Yuki, we just don't see that content. Like if Yuki is being downplayed because there's no AoE content that's dedicated towards making her shine, the same like tower I guess is a thing, but like you can clear tower with Sereniel, you can clear tower with like the most scuffed like DPS things. Like Magna is not even required to clear tower, and even Haru is clearing tower at this point. And Haru is also in A tier, and Haru is not limited to having tower buffs make her powerful. So we'll put Magna in B tier. We'll put her above these two just because again she probably is like her ability to be shield is a lot more powerful than these two because these two are in the end like I mean Yuki like if there's like a arena pile mechanic Yuki just like skyrockets in value super hard, but again we don't have that. Chizuru has no content that she could be shield for that other characters wouldn't also be shield for. Honestly, a lot of the reason why I think Chizuru is like so suppressed is because Rin exists, and I think Rin is just a better Chizuru, as I've said during the Chizuru section. But Magna is again, she has to be buffed by the content. Like you have to have defense buffs, which then buffs counterattack damage. You have to have really beefy bosses that will hit you really hard and a lot, which Magna does have in tower. But outside of that, she has really no sauce going on. And even her shield build is irrelevant because, as I discovered at the start of stream, shield is capped to twice your HP. So that obviously sucks. I probably could have found that out if I had played Great Rift 1 with the appropriate Shades of Agony Tressa build. I probably would have felt like that probably would have been discovered instantly because that would have capped out your shield likely, but I was like spamming retain shield and then I found out that my shield wasn't increasing, so that means that you can only do so much with the shield cheese, which means that she is definitely not as good as I would like her to be in that aspect. I'm gonna mute CZN in case it jump scares me with the play 3 hours notification. But yeah, so the Magna builds that exist, it doesn't help that Magna's also a very unpopular character, so no one wants to really try her out and build her, and also her animations suck, so another huge nerf for her. The Magna build I was going, that I now know is bad, was playing Glacial Iron Fist. I was abusing the fact that stacking these extends the turn timer instead of buffing the effect. So obviously with Retain Shield, with 4 of these, that means you can retain your shields for up to 8 turns straight. Which is quite nice if you want to stack your shields to ridiculous amounts. But again, sadly, caps out twice your HP, so the value isn't even that high. And the reason why I would want to do this is because one of her Ice Wall epiphanies is deal damage based on shield. And so this can crit. I don't know if this is, I don't think it's vulnerable on this. There might be vuln, or there might be a weakness attribute. Vuln does not apply to this, but you can crit. There is attribute damage, so you can get a bit more value out than you might have expected. If you have 2k HP, you can stock a 4k shield, which is honestly like pretty healthy if we're being honest, but 4k for 2 mana is really bad. If we're being like 4k base for 2 mana is it's like alright honestly. It like competes with it's also AoE in case AoE is ever a thing again, but you can do better for sure. By the mana count with a lot less setup and investment. Otherwise, I really don't know what other Magna build you're going for because counterattack again is not really a powerful concept. I do know she is a good support because you can go for like the vulnerable when you counterattack an enemy. I have no idea where that is on here, but I know it's a thing somewhere. This one, no, this upgrade, this frost charge upgrade that gives vulnerable to counterattack targets is also fine, but I'm not particularly impressed. But she's still in B tier because she does excel in the things that she's buffed in. She's just into my evaluation, she's just not that impressive. Like really, who cares about Magna in this game? It's quite unfortunate. We'll put her bottom B tier actually. I'll put Rin in A tier. I'll put her in top of A tier because I think her peak is very high. Honestly, she might even be an A plus tier if I'm being honest. I'll put an A plus tier for now, just like hype myself up to do some more farming for her because I was very impressed by like the very scuffed build I had for her going on. in my recent Rin showcase video. And so Rin, again, much like Chizuru, she is going to be a multi-hit based character. But unlike Chizuru, Rin is getting the best of both worlds. She is getting the access to Hugo with the many attack cards, but she's also getting access to crazy multi-hits because she can play both Annihilation and Black Dance at the same time, whereas Chizuru has the pick, which makes Chizuru way worse. Now, my problem with Rin is that I have a small brain, so it's kind of hard for me to understand how to get Dark Mist Dance activated. So I do think, unfortunately, Chizuru um, might be gated by her ego count because her level 4 says that if she's not in Dark Mist Stance when using your card, gain Dark Mist Stance. So I think she massively gets a power spike for one turn kills with E4. But if you're not going for one turn kills, then like genuinely whatever. She can probably do one turn kills as well. With like again, if you're going for like the true OTK, just have Drawing Slash that gives you stance. And just like don't be like me, don't delete Drawing Stance for something else. I'm gonna rebuild Rin anyways, which is why I deleted it. I assumed she was gonna go OTK anyways, so I wanted to go for like a turn by turn thing. But if you want to go OTK Rin, you're gonna keep Drawing Slash. What's the best Drawing Slash? There is no good Drawing Slash. Okay, great. So you're gonna go Drawing Slash that has a generic epiphany, gain 1 morale. Good enough. Dark Mist, Secret Arts, whatever this one is, I do not remember what the other names are because this site cuts them all off. But you're gonna go for the move command one, and you're gonna cover that 4 times. And the reason why there's no Divine Epiphany on this is because you can Divine Epiphany Black Dance, or no, this is Annihilation. You can Epiphany Dark Mist, Secret Art, Annihilation to be -1 AP, which is essentially the same thing as getting +1 AP on the other one, except significantly cheaper. And then to me, the best epiphany on that is actually going to be +2 morale and not one of the real epiphanies that she has as an option, just because the +2 morale buffs your Black Dance really, really hard. And again, because of Spores, and because Orlea was buffed, and because you have so many ways of retaining and creating skill cards now, the odds that you have a multiple 7-hit Black Dances is extremely high. You will end up having a 6-hit Black Dance at the very end, but you will have multiple 7 hits, which is the elasticity cap. And honestly, even the 8th hit is not that bad because the 8th hit still does like half damage. So you can maybe even set up 8-hit Black Dances with like perfect draws if you have Spores and you like play your cards right. So with +2 morale, you can play this immediately. And so you can always, again, it's very much like Yuki, where you don't have the full effect of all the bonuses on spawn, which is why like maybe Chizuru is potentially better because Chizuru can set up and then have all the buffs active for her entire combo, whereas Rin is like, obviously you can always play the 4-hit version, and then at that point, like, whatever. You have the 4-hit version, and then you can do the same thing. Like, you can still do what Chizuru does, to be totally fair. Like, you are, like, at that point, you are just playing Chizuru. You have like 11 hits per skill card cast, which is, again, still better than Chizuru because you're not being hit by elasticity, and you're still doing multiple hits. So, even with that aside, like, it's still the same thing. And yeah, you can like pre-stack and then play all of your cards afterwards. But it's either this one or the morale one, depending on how your deck is looking. You lose 8 hits, or you lose 10 hits. If you hit the Gigabis draw, you do lose 10 hits for going this morale, or for this epiphany over the morale epiphany. But in exchange, you gain 10 morale for going the morale version over the hits. So it just comes down to how much morale you actually have in your deck already. Because 10 morale is a lot. That's 200% on your 8 to 6 hit Black Dance, which I think is really valuable. But let's say like that is let's just do like some crappy math. So like let's say that you average 35 hits across all 5 of your Black Dance casts. So 35, and then you have an extra 10 to 20. So 35 becomes either 45 or 55. I don't really know what the math is on that, but then you just like do the cost evaluation of like if I go down from 55 hits to 45 hits, how much morale like is 10 morale justifying that loss of 10 hits, essentially, is what you're looking at for math. Because don't forget that like the other aspect is that you can play Hugo with this. Um, hey Max. For a new player like me, captain level 29, is there some site or tutorial to speed the growth? Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems stamina is very, very low for the amount of farming required to build your team. Yeah, unfortunately, this game is pretty generous with freebies, but it is a slow roll. I would say it takes about like 3 weeks to grind to level 40, playing consistently. They do give you a good amount of teardrops to skip ahead. And I will say, like, if you're willing to only go for like one copy of every new character, you can spend like 2 refreshes a day to catch up. So I don't know. I started since launch, so my perspective is very, very skewed on gem economy. Excuse me. So I don't know if this is still applicable advice for a new player, but I would recommend spending like 2 resets a day. Like because if you don't know, like the standard refreshes in this game are scaled based on how many times you do it. So the first two are the cheapest ones, and then after that it goes up by like a certain amount. So yeah, unfortunately, I think you do have to spend like 2 refreshes a day just to catch up, and that's how you speed the growth. But otherwise, yeah, it sucks. But you'll eventually get a lot of access to like other experienced things. Like again, it's very slow, it's very time gated. When you do policies, as you clear the story, your policies will unlock new hard mode or normal battles inside your story missions, which will then give you a bit more experience. Otherwise, you really only have like event stories to clear. So like trauma codes give you some experience. Um, the new seasonal chaos will give you some trauma code experience. Clearing the main story will give you experience. I think a lot of them are level locked, unfortunately, so that's why I say you have to probably do some refreshes with stamina and crystals, but there's not really an acceleration besides that. It's just like finding all the red dots on your battle missions, whether it's trauma codes, main storylines, simulations, event story, and then clearing all the making sure on top of that, unfortunately, and doing your um, policies as they come up, and not forgetting to buy the extra policy cards from No Shop because you do get an extra 4 policy cards a week from there, and that does accelerate a good amount if you're still unlocking stuff every day or every week. But it just sadly takes time. But yeah, so Rin does have all this. Again, because I am biased towards Rin and biased against Chizuru, that's why I think that Rin is just naturally a tier or two higher than Chizuru is, because on one hand you have 11 hits, like literally 10 to 12 hits per one skill cast, which all benefit from morale. Or you have 8 to 10 hits with an additional 2 morale from it. And building this deck is more difficult, I think. Oh no, it's less difficult than it would be for Chizuru, I think, because in the end, you're still chasing. I mean, I guess it is kind of harder because you're chasing a very particular Divine Epiphany. So you're looking for a 1 in 8, sadly. About 1 in 7, because I don't know why this says this here, but these are obviously the same thing, right? You're unfortunately looking for a 1 in 7. If you're looking for the morale version that I'm looking for, it's gonna be even more difficult to find because you're looking for like a really particular base epiphany on top of everything. But if you're just looking for the 4 hit, it's not that bad. So build wise, probably about the same difficulty because actually it's probably still easier because with this one you can hit the early Dark Mist, whatever this one is called, and then continue your run and then continue flipping Dark Mist Secret Art Annihilation for the entire run. But with Chizuru, you have to hit that Epiphany early so they can start copying it, or you can copy it early, and then you have to hit both Divine Epiphanies, which is as hard as it sounds. So Rin is, to me, a little bit easier. But then the toss-up is unfortunately that, like, you always have 4 cards to copy. So anyone that's played Season 1 is probably used to this already, but you do have to go back to the horrific RNG of missing your copy event because you might accidentally copy, like your options might be drawing slash. I mean, you can have the other one too, right? There's no unique card, unfortunately, is the main issue. You like go to your copy event, and then if you deleted drawing slash, you might hit this instead, and if you deleted this, you might hit drawing slash instead. So that's unfortunately just like the reality of building Rin is that you can hit Gigabis, and then you might get screwed in the last copy event, and then do it all over again, and that blows. I do not know why this is not a unique card. Like hello Smilegate. Why why do I want double Darkness Dance? This should be a unique card, no matter what, right? So maybe I'll put that in feedback. Like it's pretty disgusting that this is not a unique card. But yeah, very straightforward. She's doing the same thing she's done all of game release, but having the subtracting one cost on Black Dance to be able to afford it is more accessible with Narja. You can get plus 1 AP through other characters. You can also Divine Epiphany this to be -1. So then you only need to find plus 2 AP overall to play all 5 of your Annihilations or your Black Dances, assuming of course there's no other curse cards you need to clear. But getting +3 in this season or in this set, probably not the hardest thing to do. You have Veronica for that, you can have Beryl for that, you can have Narja for that. Like there's a lot of different things you can do in order to hit the +3 AP requirement. And if we're being honest, like again, going down the route of like you are just going to be crazy and like go for Super Bis, you can even do this, right? You can copy this 3 times, and then the last one, you unepiphany, and you somehow hit. So this obviously you can afford. It would be super RNG, by the way, because what you'd have to do is you have to unepiphany it and then get into the final boss and then hit the correct Divine Epiphany. So there's a lot of RNG to make the Super Bis, but this is self-sufficient Rin because again, you only need 6 more or 3 more mana. So this is totally free. You play Black Dance up to 5 times if you're lucky with the draw order. And so you need to burn 5 mana, you get +3 from here. There you go. That's how you get everything played on Rin. But again, pretty hard to do, but it is possible, so we'll give it to her. Self-sufficient in AP and everything. Next, we're going to look at Orlea. I think Orlea with the nerfs might be a bit overhyped. I'm going to keep her an A+ still, because I don't know. I think Orlea, like, people are really gassing her up. To be fair, last patch, I would have put her in B tier. But now she's like very solidly A tier to maybe A+. I have not played her properly since the nerf. I think before the nerf, she was probably like S- in Super Shill, but because she got nerfed pretty hard, I'm gonna say she's A. Let's go with A until I see like a proper Orlea build. I'm gonna say she's A tier for now. Like maybe downplay her a little bit because I'm not convinced that she'll be too powerful. And I'll explain why with this section. So basically with Orlea, the main problem with Orlea and the problem that's always existed is that she is very she struggles to draw cards. She really doesn't have card draw at all. But she does have retain, so she is like technically card neutral. The main issue with this season, especially, is that because of the nature of her deck building, she naturally cannot go Quad Divine Epiphany. Winchester Bro, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. You can't go Quad Divine Epiphany because you have to delete Sacred Censor, because Sacred Censor is a piece of trash now, unfortunately. It's like kind of fine, honestly, but maybe you'd have to go like... there's a lot of deck clutter, essentially. The reason why it was worse earlier... Deckmaker? Yes, let me link it to you. A lot of people use this site. It's the Wiki E7 bot. This has all of the combatants, their epiphanies, all the cards, all the partners, all the chaoses, and their events. So you can see the results of them if you really want to. It even has the equipment and all that. And then the deck builder is a very new feature they added. So I think I saw. I only know about this recently because of Port Coco, but yeah, very nice thing to have. Yeah. it makes I think that's the only reason why like this Tierlist video is even possible or this stream is even possible without me going insane, because I actually show what I'm talking about without racking my head. But yeah, so for Orlea, I think the main issue with Sacred Censor is like kind of ugly, so you probably go with this Sacred Censor, unfortunately. Again, with a lot of AP positivity, you could possibly go for like the Salty. I think Salty is also good if you're running a very AP positive deck, which again is very possible in this day and age. And then your Growth Excel, very like heavily has to be the 0 cost version, because every other Growth Excel is her own card, but this Growth Excel is any card. And it's also the only 0 mana card she has. And that's really important because that means you can get the Divine +1 draw. Uh, Chizuru? Yeah, I can review Chizuru after I finish Orlea, if you're willing to stick around. If you want to look at the VOD, she should be like about an hour ago, if you just want to skip to that, but I want to finish the Orlea thought first, and then go to Chizuru. But the TLDR, just for you, Winchester, is that she feels like very overhyped, and I've seen people cook on her, and the cooking was not impressive in the end. Like the deck building and the concept and like doing everything and like all the comboing was really impressive, but Chizuru herself it was not impressive. Like it was like a really impressive like I think it was Cosmic. I can't remember if it was Cosmic or WG that was like watching the stream of, but they were like playing Narja and like timing the veracity stacks and Bottomless Hunger and like making and trying to make it so like everything like linked up and like so they can play like multiple 0 cost Shadow of the Moons to like do this stuff and then like make all this like mass like buff damage apply and like doing all these things and like they still 5 turned it. And while 5 turning is like it's still like pretty good. Like my last YouTube video was me 5 turning the boss with Yuki. So it's like is that really that good? Like I know Yuki has weakness advantage, so that's why she's doing a bit more, but it's Yuki. Like it's not even like a real single target, right? So that's why she's like the potential woman. I'm sure there is a build that will make me change my mind, and people either haven't cooked it yet or I haven't seen it in action myself. Like maybe it's on Japanese Twitter somewhere, and I just haven't seen it. I can totally believe that, but yeah, she's just like I haven't seen anything impressive truly from her. But yeah, so Orlea. So yeah, so the only real Oreo build is unfortunately like this Growth Excel one. You delete annoying, you generate softy from here, and then I guess you do keep Will of Light these days. I think Will of Light is kind of overrated, but I understand from the aspect of spores. I think Orlea is now A tier because they made spores like that much worse. Yeah. So the reason why Orlea with Will of Light was really, really powerful was because you could continue generating spores, and then that would accelerate your damage. They not only have the spore effectiveness from 10% per spore to 5%, they now also capped it at 20. So maybe spores are still more than good enough to be usable. In that case, you keep Will of Light, but if you no longer use spores at all, you cut Will of Light. I don't know though. Maybe you do keep spores. I don't know. I think you do keep spores. Let's just go with the assumption you keep spores because I think it would suck if you didn't keep spores. And I think then the characters. So first of all, you cannot have necrosis. That's the main issue with Orlea. Necrosis probably deletes you. If there's necrosis, you probably have to dupe Will of Light and delete growth acceleration. But then the problem is that you have to have a draw to Beryl if you're doing that, which has its own problems, I think. And you also delete Sacred Censor, which means you can't go quad growth excel as well. But assuming that Beryl Orlea, like Sporlia and Sporl, however you want to use Beryl's spore name, assuming that it's still playable and that it's still usable, you could probably go with this. I think you could end up keeping Sacred Censor. You probably need the +1 AP on Guilty Pleasure, and then you just hope to God you draw well because it's not card positive. That's always the problem. I don't know how you're gonna get the AP for these characters. Cause yeah, if you go +1 AP on Guilty Pleasure, you can't go draw one, and that means you're draw neutral, which means that okay, I guess yeah, okay, you're gonna play 9 probably. You probably play 9, you probably play Flash U, so it's irrelevant. Flash U 9 means that you can have a 5 card deck still, which means that as long as you keep within a 5 card deck, Beryl Sporlia will probably be good. And the 5 card only 5 card decks that can really be enabled will be with 9 with Flash U because you'll be playing so many spores. You play all the spores to discount the Flash U, and then once you get level 3 Flash U, that's when you go Giga Ham on stacking spores all the way, and you have one final Flash U hit. And obviously, jury's still out on whether or not that's that good. It probably is pretty good. I assume that's good enough to 3 turn 8/9 Necrosis, Necrosis Bliss, Elemental Spirit. But if you're going for the 3-card deck, then you can probably take out some Growth Excels and instead go Will of Lights. And Will of Light with a well-built Orlea does out-heal Necrosis, so you should be fine. Um, yeah, I think you do end up keeping Psychic Sensor. You just play Swifty early, and then you play the Salties, and you let the Salty stay in hand. Like you play this, drain a Salty, do all of your Will of Light, and then play the Salty at the very end before. Yeah, actually, I don't know how the Salty math would work, but regardless, yeah, you can keep Sacred Sensor in this scenario, and then go multiple Divine Epiphanies on Growth Excel, but it's not that bad. I think we need to see how Flash Hue 9 works to really know how good Spolia is, because if Flash Hue 9 is still really, like, if it can still turn, like, 2-turn Elemental Spirit, I think Spolia Beryl is pretty up there. But if you can't even turn to Elemental Spirit with Flash Hue, then she might even be like bottom of A, because that's the only comp I could really see her being excellent in. Unfortunately, happens though. Mei Lin, I'll put an A tier or A plus tier. Um, People really gas up Mei Lin still. I don't really know why, considering that every single form of difficult content has been anti-Mei Lin, but people are still traumatized from her Rising Dragon Spire shenanigans. Obviously, they can never undo elasticity because of that. Without elasticity, she'd be like easily S minus, maybe even S tier still. But because elasticity is like a permanent fixture in all of our content, I think she unfortunately has the AFK and A plus tier. We'll put her in A plus tier or top of A plus tier just to put some respect on her name for, kind of messing the game up to the point where they have to have a permanent debuff just to deal with her. Realistically, still the exact same thing as always with Mei Lin. Like we all know the drill. Keep both their basics. Unfortunately, delete her coolest card, Flame Dragon Sovereign. Very unfortunate. You fish out Rising Dragon Spire, and then depending on like your timing, elasticity, the content, you either dupe a million Unities or you dupe a million Rising Dragon Spires. If you're trying to kill a boss with high elasticity, you dupe your Rising Dragon Spire, you give a 7, you do a bunch of 7 hits, call it a day. And if you're going for Hugo support, which Hugo is an S by the way, spoilers, you'll be duping Unity, attack and defense, and just spamming your basics over and over again, and just cosplaying like Luke or Chizuru or any other generic like cosplaying Tressa. You're really just doing whatever like Hugo enablers are doing, right? So in that aspect, she is still very good. Nothing new really, right? Like everyone's built Mei Lin. Everyone's seen what Mei Lin can do. There really is nothing special or new about Mei Lin. You can go +1 AP, you can +1 draw, probably +1 AP on this. Dupe that a million times. Rising Dragon Spire with the new changes to meditation, super easy to find. Flame Dragon, I think you're going crit these days. I know a long time ago there was like some Reddit post that like talked about crit being worse than damage amount, but I'm pretty sure in this modern era of CZN, crit is way more important because you have so much like morale stacking or damp jam and other aspects. So you want the crit version, and then Spirit of Automata or Aromata, you're most likely going for Passion plus 20%, because you're likely playing Veronica with this. And with Veronica, you have new spores, which probably won't be that valuable, but is some slightly more value, to be fair. And there's probably a reality where you play spores on Mei Lin and Veronica. Obviously, elasticity exists, so like whatever. But if you want to go for like a super funny build where elasticity is not a thing, you can you have Sporelia with some +1 draw. You have Veronica, and then you just end up getting like Spore Harvesters, and then like duping a bunch of spores between Veronica and Mei Lin with Will of Light to just inflate the hit count really, really high. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a reality where like you can get like 100 hits on Mei Lin's Rising Dragon Spire. 100's a little high. Because I don't think you can actually hit 100 with that many Spore Harvesters. But yeah, Like that's probably a meme video somewhere. I probably might chase that meme video just because um there's like not much more to farm for me in terms of highlights that aren't like funny. But I'll probably just like get an Orlea deck with like 4 Will of Lights, get like +1 draw on Unity or like figure out the Unity thing. Get Veronica with like all the reposes and stuff needed to draw everything, and then start like duping out the Spore Harvesters because I can play all the strikes. I can burn everything and then have just like 4 Spore Harvesters left in hand, and then 2 Will of Lights. Then you play 1 Will of Light, play 4 Spores, play another Will of Light, play 4 Spores. Yeah, it might. Yeah, I guess it's not. The peak isn't that high, because if I have 4 Will of Lights and I keep 1 repose, it'd be. I get keep a repose with 2 Will of Lights left in the deck. So I have a Will of Light. I have 1 Will of Light and 1 repose in hand, and then 4 Spores. So it'd be Will of Light +4, play repose, draw the 2 Will of Lights, play another Will of Light, +4 Spores, +4 Spores, +3 some +4 Spores. That's 12 Spores. Then you get +5, 17, 17 + 7, 27. I could get like 27 extra hits with Spore Tech. And then not including the initial cast of this. So 29 hits with Spore Tech. 29 hits. And then I have Growth Acceleration for the 2. 31 hits. 31 hits on Rising Dragon Spire. Then it's 3, 6, 9, 12. 42. 42. 44. 46. Veronica, 4 reposes. 46, 50. 2 retrieve. 64. I guess the cap's 64 hits on Rising Dragon Spire. Might be funny. Well, it sounds like a massive pain to math out, though. Oh well. Moving on, the character that everyone knows how it works, because there is no spice with Mei Lin, sadly. Oh, hey, Hugo. S tier. Yeah, Hugo probably competes with Sereniel, for being honest, because not only is Hugo, not, I know, Hugo and Sereniel both have like the same nerf aspects. I think Hugo's actually worse than Sereniel because he's not providing you 5 free AP. But yeah, so Hugo is a deck thinner, he's a massive deck drawer, he is a massive enabler, he is so good and adds so many attacks to the point where high key, like, it's probably better to call a lot of these like showcase decks Hugo decks more than anything, because he is the one doing so, like, he's doing like minimum 40% of damage on any of these showcase decks. And with a lot of decks, like if you're going Tressa, if you're going, yeah, like Tressa exists, like Luke exists, if you're going for those decks, he's doing like 70% of the damage. And so how is Hugo doing so much damage? This doggo. The dog. So if you don't know, Hunting Instincts obviously got buffed to now have initiation on more of the upgrades, so he's way more consistent. And that opens up his best possible DPS Hunting Instincts. The one where it says when you activate Come Instant Attack, you do an additional 50% to your enemy. And that is really important, and that is really good because you can stack this. Unlike Maribell's, I don't know if they bug fixed this, but unlike Maribell's upgrade card, it does scale properly. So if you have 4 of these, you're doing an additional 200% attack to the enemy target. And this coordinate attack, I don't know if it was bugged before, or I don't know if Nia's still not working, but this coordinate attack does scale with specifically morale. It does not scale with like card buffs, I think. It doesn't scale with like a lot of other like arbitrary buffs. But it does scale very specifically with morale. So if you have a lot of morale stacking, once again, through Beryl, or maybe you have someone like Rin, or my bad, Rei, or Yuki. I mean, Rin works too, right? Like I talk about Rin getting +2 morale on her Black Dance, or no, on her Annihilation Epiphany. You can get morale pretty easily nowadays with this game, with all the additions and enhancements to buff stacking. So this extra 200 attack can be 400% attack, or not 400%. Yeah, you can do 10 morale pretty easily. You can make it 400% attack, which obviously scales very well. And a lot of the time, your morale stacker is also doing attacks, which means that Hugo will continue following up. Not even mentioning the fact that the morale also obviously affects the original Commence the Hunt attack. So when I talked about earlier with Rin doing like, I like did some crappy math where Rin can do 45 to 55 attacks by herself. Hugo is going to add an additional 4 hits per every card you activated. So obviously, my beloved OP, yeah, I know, right? With Rin, I was estimating about 10 hits total because you have 2 attack cards, you play those 2, and then you have 4 follow-up skill cards that activate them afterwards. So you have 10 hits total with Rin. That means Hugo is going to do 20 attacks. He can do more if you have his other attack cards, but Hugo is going to follow up with 20 attacks, all amped up, all very powerful, all very high damage. And the best part is that he can be totally, completely card independent. So he's doing all of this for free. If you have any skill cards, he's doing it all for free. The reason why I like this Dingo Howling more than the draw 2 attack cards is mainly because it doesn't cost mana besides the first investment, and it's a bit easier to control because you don't have to draw the card in order to get the card draw. You just have to proc Commence the Hunt stacking. So while this is more powerful, like pound for pound for raw card draw, I just use this because it makes the deck and gameplay easier, makes it look more clean. Like I don't think it's actually much better, if better at all. Especially since you get Divine Epiphany on this and you make it 0 cost. But I'm usually not chasing Divine Epiphanies for my own sanity, so that's why I go for the upgrade. But you can go for the draw 2. And you can see that I also deleted the draw 2 quick fix, which obviously again, very good. These can both be Divine Epiphany to 0 cost, so they're essentially free. So he's not only a super powerful attacker, he also has, or sub attacker, if you want to call him that, like follow-up attacks. Wow, great. He's also a pretty good card drawer, but you're never gonna dupe this. You're always gonna dupe this with this better Commence the Hunt. And depending on whether or not you're trying to one turn or not, if you're trying to one turn, this goes reduce 1. If you're trying to go for extra value, you're going for +1 morale on this, or you're going for -1 cost on quick fix, right? So there's a lot of different options you can have as Hugo. In the end, like he is literally one of the least nerfable characters, unless you're nerfing Sereniel as well, in which case, like, yeah. Hey, Dallas. So yeah, he adds way too much damage. Like he alone makes most characters 5-turn at worst, right? I think when I posted the it was Rin. When I posted my like scalped Rin build, someone was like, "Oh yeah, this is actually a Hugo showcase," and I was like, "Okay, that's kind of fair, but I think Rin did more damage." But totally understandable why you'd call the Rin showcase a Hugo showcase, because yeah, it's just he's doing so much. Even if the other character's doing a lot, he's adding a lot because of how buffs work and scaling works. So sadly, he does only have this one build realistically. There's not much like variation you can have on Hugo, but it's a really good solo build. Like I don't think you can debate him being anything lower than S tier. Yeah. Kayron, D tier. Moving on. Kayron. I didn't even move the window for him. That's how fast I snapped it down there. Kayron is also potential man, but he has even less feats and less potential and less things going on. I have not seen a Kayron clip in a very long time. And the last Kayron clip I saw didn't even look good. And it was like before season 1. So I still have not played Kayron. He's still level 1. He's still untouched in my box. And that's not because he's a man, even though it might seem like it's because he's a man. It's because his kit doesn't look like it has anything sauceable. And so by that, I mean, so like he has one card that arguably is enabled quite hard by the season. That's going to be, I thought it was Black Hole. No, it's Brand of Annihilation. So Brand of Annihilation has one version, or has 2 versions. Oh my god, there's a lot of versions actually. He has multiple brands where when a card is exhausted, it gets discounted. The problem is that none of these are really that crazy, and even worse, like I don't know if you want to epiphany any of these or like dupe any of these and like have great value. So like for one of these, for 3 of these rather, or rather 2 of these, it is going to be reduce the card by 1. So this is probably the best one right here. 300% times 2. That's not bad. You can play 4 of these, so you have 4 600% hits. You know who's doing better than that? Chizuru, Rin, uh, 9 with Flash U. So this is Flash U, but um, technically scales about the same because you play 4 of them. But I guess maybe Flash Shoot is an appropriate example. So like if there's a Void Weak monster, maybe he can pop off. But it just unfortunately comes down to the fact that like it's not like a great multi-hit. You can play Orlea with it. So maybe you can play Sporlia. Sporlia, Brand of Annihilation, Kayron. But then who's the last character? And the other problem is that it has no synergy whatsoever with the entire rest of his kit. Because all he wants to do is mess with futility, and you don't even want to use futility with this idea. So what's the point? Futility, honestly, I don't really know what futility is. It looks like it's like a ball that you play that's a curse card. It's not even on any of these things. But it's like a curse card that does nothing but some damage that you can't reduce the cost of ever. Maybe with Narja. Oh. Maybe Narja cooks. But yeah, you can have like this thing with a vanity. Maybe Narja does cook. Could you play Narja, Orlea, Kayron? How do you make a 5-card deck with those 3 characters that actually does anything? So you would have Divine Epiphany draw. Okay, so you automatically lock down Necrosis, which fine, on par for the course. You would go draw 1, 0 cost, Growth Excel. And then what are Kayron's 5 cards? You would go not Agony. You would probably go 200% damage, Oath of Vanity. You probably delete Echoes of True Abyss because it's trash. Black Hole would be. Would you go this version of Black Hole? I mean, fixed damage is kind of useless. It has to be real damage to be good. This should be real damage. Yeah, this should be real damage. This does not be fixed damage if they want to make Kayron actually playable. If this is actually if this is real damage, now we can actually play a Narja build that reduces futilities and makes them 0 cost. So we can actually cycle like 7 futilities a turn to get the extra 7 hits from this black hole. And actually like has some things going on with it, but it doesn't work that way. The only other thing is like this black hole, which is a 6-hit, 60-hit, which is just again a very much worse Rin. I don't know why you'd ever play this black hole over Rin. Ever. This one is 3 hits for 300%. But it's 2 mana. So it's 900% damage base. Like, that could be okay. This one will be the infinite scaling one, where you just like get a massive fatty. So you play Sporlia with this, get some Vuln, pop this. If you get like, but even if you get like 10 futilities, it's only 100 or 900%. So if you play 10 futilities, you literally might as well play this. Oh, but this one permanently scales, right? So you would play this black hole. You cut brand. You play Oath of Vanity. You get Echo of Futility. Is that right? Echo of Futility? You either want 3 Futility or you get Echo Futility. I don't know. Depending on the mana problems, you either go Echo or this one. Because you have 5 cards. Right now I can only get 5 cards. Orlea, Cycles. You probably want at least 1 draw 1 so you can draw everything. Because you need some card... Like, the issue is always you need to be card positive. Because the main problem is that like if you're not card positive on every card with draw 1s, you can't play everything. And this deck would definitely need to play everything or else it's just cooked. So you'd play the base Echo. This is so disgusting. Get the base Echo, get draw 1 on this, and then divine it? I don't know. Is that even good? You're playing Narja. Narja Orlea. Because yeah, the problem, if this is a skill card, is there a skill version of this? There isn't. Because you can't get, like, ideally, you would get this version with a draw 1 on Divine, but you can't get draw 1 Divine on attack cards. So the problem is that you're stuck with this garbage version of... Because, there's also this one. This one's just way better, but you can't get draw 1. How do you... You can't get draw 1, you can't dupe? So you need to get +1 draw somehow, permanently. How would you get +1 draw without Pigeon these days? You can't, right? You literally cannot get +1 draw without Pigeon. And you can't get Pigeon because Pigeon is logged to Forbidden Lab. Uh... Hmm. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's so RNG because you have to somehow get a you have to get +2 somehow, or you cut one of these echoes and have a 4-card deck so you can play everything. So yeah, maybe it's just that. Maybe just play an ugly ass 4-card deck and cry. You play this. No, if you're playing a 4-card deck, you don't need this anymore. Play a 4-card deck. You can play probably this one, create 3. Because you're gonna assume that Narja can discount everything. You don't even need a Divine at that point. I guess we'll just Divine it with like damage. We'll just say we'll get -1 Divine. That's the problem with attack card. I mean, yeah, you just go this. So you get this. You have it 3 times so that you can have Black Hole. And that way you have enough space to fully cycle all of your Narja cards, all of your Orlea cards. Yeah. Because otherwise, you just don't have enough space. Maybe if this futility... Oh, wait. Oh, wait, you have this Black Hole. Oh, but then you can't play it. I was gonna say, you can fix it by having this Black Hole be a draw 2. But you can't even play this Black Hole in time, because you want to play after all the futilities are over. So it's not even a realistic thing. So this would be 9 futilities a turn. You generate 9 futilities a turn, so you get +3... 360? Yeah, okay, this guy's cooked. I'm not even, like, there's so much. Like, this Kayron guy just has nothing. I don't know why. I mean, okay, I know why Kayron wasn't buffed, but I don't know why Kayron wasn't buffed. Like, this guy is actually, like, so trash, I think. There's probably something he's good in, but, like, out of all the characters to buff, the one that has nothing, no content, no videos, no guides, no hype, no mains, nothing. He has nothing. And he didn't even sniff a buff. Chizuru had, that's probably, I mean, yeah, Chizuru at least had fans, but why didn't you buff Kayron? You buffed Magna before you buffed Kayron. Why? Whatever. I'm gonna put him D tier. Fuck that guy. Veronica? Okay. This might be a hot take, but I think Veronica is actually just A tier. I'll put her bottom A+. So it's a hot take just because nowadays, like, being positive in card draw is really important, but being a really positive in card draw isn't as important. The thing with Veronica is that, like, she was better in last season because having consistent decks was a lot more difficult. So she would solve you having, like, a lot of random basics sitting around your deck because you just overdraw your hand. Nowadays, you can delete most of your basics. You usually only have like 4 or 5 card decks across all of your characters. The like most fat decks you have are like probably like 10 cards total with a lot of like cycling in it. Obviously Veronica is really useful for like bad decks. Like I'm using her in a few of my decks. Like the Yuki deck obviously use her because my Yuki missed not she didn't miss, but oh yeah, what happened was that I had to run Mika instead of somebody. So like even my Yuki deck, like I obviously want to run Veronica because my Yuki deck needed to draw, but there is a world where my Yuki doesn't need to actually run Veronica to get all the draw. There's also a world where my Yuki just has access to a better character that has a divine +2, like +1 draw on one of their +1 draw decks. So like the excess of draw that Veronica has is a lot less impressive now. It is still really nice. It is still pretty important for other, like, for a lot of decks, it is still pretty important, but it's not, like, as all-encompassing as it was last season. And so, again, much like Mei Lin, nothing has changed for Veronica at all this season. You're still running, like, delete all 3, Probably delete firing prep because you don't want the ballista clogging your hand up. Delete pendant because yeah, because it might accidentally clog your deck, so you don't want it. And it's also not unique on base. So you only want these 3 cards: Bombardment Prep, Kowalski, and Repose. This Kowalski, actually, you might not even want Kowalski these days, because if you get the actually, yeah, do you even want Kowalski? Whatever. You get Kowalski, and you get the one that enhances ballista damage specifically. Actually, yeah, do you even want Kowalski? You could just go. Oh, but I guess people, okay, they excuse for Kowalski so you can cycle. Yeah, never mind. You want Kowalski. Ignore me. You always want Kowalski here. So the idea would be that you have to get the -1 AP on Kowalski. There it is. And then you have 1 or 2 of him, and then you have Repose, Divine Repose on Veronica that has +1 AP, or it has draw 1 extra, right? Which is obviously quite good. Depending on your character, for example, if you're playing Rin, from what I've heard, Repose is a persistent -1 effect. And that's really important because nutrition absorption is not a persistent -1 effect. So they're distinguishing between persistent and non-persistent reductions, even though the text is the same. So if you see here, it says decrease cost of one of those cards by 1 for 1 turn. If you redraw that card, like with Mika or someone, it keeps it. But if you go to nutrition absorption, it has almost the exact same text of decrease 1 card in hand by 1 for 1 turn, but it actually only means 1 time. If you retrieve the card that you reduced from nutrition absorption, it is back to its original cost, which is weird because I don't know why they changed that for the season card, but whatever. So yeah, you're either going for this version of Repose, so you can discount something quote unquote permanently for the turn, temporarily for the turn, or you're playing the +1 AP Repose for the draw, or you're being a quote unquote self-sufficient Repose with +1 draw, because obviously the Repose itself can't draw you another Repose, but this version of Repose has a very small chance of actually drawing you a Veronica card, which can be a Repose. So if, for example, you have this, the Bombardment Prep's played, and you have like you can maybe like have this deck, right? And then your last Repose is non-Epiphany, because you can't afford to have all this. Actually, honestly, I don't think this is right. I think your deck looks like this, honestly, because this way you can have the Kowalski, and then like you flip the Repose at the very end to be like one extra thing. Because since you deleted Firing Prep, you can only have 3 Divine Epiphanies for this. So I assume this is like the ideal Veronica deck that you would have. Unfortunately, only 5 cards means you only have 5 chances of proccing morale, which is a lot worse. And you can have a 10-card deck with this. Obviously, there's some variance because you have to draw Veronica's cards early in order to access that 10-card deck, which is, not that hard of an ask, to be fair. But in the end, like, a lot of characters and a lot of deck types are being refined to being more self-sufficient and fitting within like 6 or 7 or 8 cards, like 5 to 8 cards essentially. And because those deck sizes are so small, Veronica's value again just naturally plummets as a result. But it is still good for those characters that have to play naturally wider decks. Like for example, Yuki. My Yuki deck will probably never be able to escape Veronica because a lot of the other supports just do not have positive card draw. Like they all have self-cycle, but they don't have +2s and +3s naturally in their character kit, which means that I have to walk myself to her. Hugo can probably solve that problem, but Hugo obviously doesn't work because he doesn't, like, Yuki's AoE attacks don't proc Hugo, which is a problem. But yeah, I'll say she's A tier just for that. A, like bottom A plus. I think I want to put her A tier just because I'm not really convinced that it's that good, but I get the feeling people will be on my ass if I don't put her in A plus at least. So we keep her there. Renoa. I've seen one Renoa clip. I'm gonna put her in A. I saw one clip where she one-turned the Nebula boss, the 9/9 Nebula boss, and it was a very messy deck. It seemed like it could be refined more, but it was a really cool OTK, and it used Cassius and Nia. And essentially, what happened was that they built up to 9 Dirge bullets, and then they shuffled their deck with Cass. They got 9 Dirge bullets. They went card positive, or they used Renoa's ego skill to go to 10 cards, and then they started shuffling. And because they had a 10 hand card, or 10 card hand, the shuffles went to like 10 to 9 to 8, and that means they drew a lot of dirge bullets, and they had Nia's one like tune, like accent thing, whatever thing that activates when you discard card. Like the skill card that says like when you discard card for this turn, the owner of that card does an extra attack. Like they had that active as well. And so Renoa did like 100 attacks on turn 1, which was really impressive. Now, is that really a good thing outside of turn 1? Probably not, but at least it was impressive. At least it was like a strong OTK. And worst comes to worst, even if you can't OTK, you can probably utilize some Renoa or like some Narja shenanigans for that. But yeah. For the actual deck for Renoa, she is obviously extremely support reliant. And she also kind of counter synergizes with wide decks, but that's nothing that a Spore or 2 can't fix. I don't recognize Renoa's. There we go. So the deck I saw, I don't think this is like a perfect representation of that deck, but it looked something like this from what I can recall. They had one other of these cards, but they didn't play it at all. It was probably just for hand clutter. So it looks something like this. This way you can like generate all the flowers you need. I'm still not convinced you need this many flowers, but yeah, it was something like this. You just like want to get flowers, you want to burn shuffle. It's more on the supports than it is on Renoa. Now, if you were to make a more I guess consistent Renoa deck that doesn't need to one turn, like if you want to make a Renoa deck that could play turn over turn, then I think you need to play the discard pile Echo Sorrow. Hey, Juke. And then after that, I think you... It is kind of hard to say, because I'm not actually sure how you would get the rest of the stuff. Thank my Bezos sub. I appreciate it, Juke. Thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate you typed that before you clicked the button, and the icon appeared before the notification came through. Really appreciate it. But yes, so you end up playing that. You probably go for like Flower of Devoured. You go for this ballad. This is just all. I'm just assuming here, right? Like I'm assuming you want to just play like consistent. Like you want to do the classic meta deck thing right now, where you're just playing 5 cards over and over again. And I think this should be feasible for Renoa. You have 3 of these. You dupe this twice, you dip this twice, and that way you can play oh my bad. This ends up being you can just go draw 1 divine on this. So you end up having to go hey Wendell. You end up having to go with this just to have all the card draw. Unfortunately, the main issue is that maybe you go card draw on the Echo Stars instead, my bad. Yeah, the Flower Divine, or Flower Devoured is not the one you want the, Oh, but it's the same problem where these are attacks. Okay, yeah, so you just have to get lucky and not draw in that order with this concept. Because, yeah, you cannot get Divine Draw 1 on attack cards. Always forget about that. So you get this. You pray you don't draw these 5 cards. You pray you draw these beforehand. Actually, just delete Last Ditch Assault. Okay, there you go. Just have these. Whatever. You don't even need Divine 50 anymore. So you have this. You have +1 AP from some random source, or you have -1 AP on this just to be able to play it. Regardless, this way you play all 3 of these. You have 6 discarded Dirge Bullets. Then you discard the 3 Dirge Bullets with these Flower Devoured to do 3 more Dirge Bullets. So then you would have, what is that, like, this is 6 + 3 + 3. You have 12 Dirge Bullets in your discard pile. Oh, right, that's why I wanted the... okay, my bad. Okay, I see. That's why I wanted the... That's why you want Last Ditch Assault. Because then you can discard the last 3 Dirge Bolts you got from Flower Devoured. Another +1 draw problem that is very hard to solve. Oh well. I guess, yeah, I mean, you guys get the point. You just play this. This way you have, what is it, 6, 9, 12, another 15. You have 15 Dirge Bolts procs. And then this ends up being amped by 15%. This says damage amount. Is this not flat? I thought this was flat. Oh, it is damage amount. So it's 150%. 15, 750% amp on this means that this is what was that 375 times 3% without any morale sources, which is not insanely crazy, but you're exhausting everything. So that way your next draw is as smooth as the last one was. So that's what I'm thinking right now. If you want like a turn by turn min deck Renoa deck, I don't think it's gonna be that good. I guess actually, let me see. 15 hits, plus 8. You get 18 hits total. Far cry from 55 from Rin, but it's also like not terribly optimized. And it's also you could go way more aggressively with these. If I'm keeping this, if I keep Last Ditch Assault and I manage to draw it every time, then I could just play yeah, there is actually a way to solve this. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm gonna be distracted by Renoa just for this like turn over turn concept. You could play you can play create 3, and then this Divine Epiphany is in the draw 1. You have this deck? Oh, okay. So does it do a lot? Like, does it pump, or is it like all right? 2 draws, 2 Divine Epiphanies here. Discard. Delete this. 3 of these. Hey Dynam, is there a way to play this that's not through Stove? You have so many issues with Stove client. You can do like the classic emulator thing. I've heard some people have much more success playing on emulators than on Stove. I don't know how the gameplay really feels. I don't know how different it is, but people do play on like I haven't used the emulator in a long time, so I don't know what the good emulators are anymore. But like back in my day, like 8 years ago, I used Nox and BlueStacks. I don't know which ones survived and which ones exploded since then. Yeah. I'm curious to know if this is like actually a good enough deck to actually clear stuff consistently. Like, because in the end, with this sort of deck, I think you definitely can do some pretty silly things with this. I just have to figure it out. Yeah, Renault might be fun to lab. I feel like min decks are a lot more fun to lab than like perfect OTKs. You don't know if this one's good. Yeah, I don't think so either, but I might have to do some research. I think Renoa, like this season, like Renoa is like confirmed potential woman, or she's confirmed. Her potential is there. Like she's good. But I think the main problem is that I don't know if she has like consistent value. I know she can OTK. I've seen her OTK, and she OTK'd with like more damage to spare than like the non weakness 50k that she did to the main boss of Nebula. But I don't know if she can like pull like let's say like 30k a turn, which I think is more valuable because that particular Renoa deck was very much like a one turn blow everything. So I am curious to see if she can do like 30k a turn. Like I think that's the benchmark I think for her to be like a true A plus. If she can do 30k a turn, I mean if I say that then Luke's also A plus. Oh well, Luke's at 30k with retrieve, so or 50k with retrieve. But that is 30% more attack. So I think yeah, Luke is probably safely an A. But I don't want Veronica. Every time I look at Veronica an A plus, I think it's wrong. Whatever. Yeah, we'll put Renoa and Luke together down here. I'm sure there's like a much better way of playing Renoa that exists, but I just need to figure it. Like I need to lab it out myself, or just see a video of someone like doing 30k, like um, two turning the boss without like having dirge rolls left over and having like 100% consistency in that 30k per turn. And I'll put Renoa in A plus because I think she has a very solid chance of being A plus. My brain's too small to think about this aspect because I just realized that this is plus 4 hits. Yeah, so I was asking like 20 hits overall for Renoa from her own base kit, which could be higher. Like if I had Nia, But then Nia has her own problems because they need card, or she has card positive with the Adagio. I can discard one card and get Adagio active, and if I use Adagio discard, then I don't have to have Last Ditch Soul. But then I need a lot of questions. They can use Joker from Cassius to draw the rest. Yeah, there's probably a way to make her do like 30k every turn pretty consistently. I just need to. It actually needs labbing. I think Renoa is a really fun character to like actually like hash out because she is so support reliant, and her supports are always unique supports. So it's like really fun to lab her out, but that's why it's really really difficult to just be like, oh yeah, she's this tier until I get the results out. Oh, now we're into 4 stars. Oh god, okay. Owen D tier. I'll put Owen C tier. So Owen is like interesting because he does have one support aspect. So I've been thinking about this for a while, and there's actually someone else. I forget if it's Lamemi or someone else, but like a new-ish VTuber that is very active in Poor Coco's chat. I was thinking about this for a while, but I ended up not doing it because he procs spores a lot, and proccing spores was a big no-no for me to bother testing. But regardless, like this is like concept that someone already is confirming can work. You can get this this wind charge. This physical wind charge is it applies to any attack card. So you'll notice that a lot of these other ones it says this unit. This one is a generic minus 25 or yeah, slashes off a quarter of your damage of the card and gives you +1 hit. So obviously that is overall a damage increase. You're going from 100% to 150% essentially with this. Now obviously I don't know how it interacts with multiplicative modifiers, but I know that it is a final mod. Like the issue with this card in particular is that it's not. Actually, am I right? Maybe it's different. I actually have not used this card properly once. So someone has to. If someone's used this card, please let me know if it's like the buff damage amounts where it is taking off the base value 25%. If that's the case, this is really really strong, or really really yeah, this is pretty strong. However, if it is taking off like the overall damage amount, then it's just a 50% multiplier, which is still pretty good. Like it's a true 50% multiplier compared to like akin to like vulnerable, but also not even 2 volt stacks it is still like that. So yeah, it is pretty close to like a true 50% multiplier, assuming it's a 1 hit. If it's a 2 hit, then you're looking more at like a 75, 75, 75. It's a 25% multiplier. So you lose. So the moment you drop, I think once you have 3 hits, it's actually worse because 3 hits you have 300%, and then let me get a calculator out. At 3 hits you have 300%, so it's 300, and then if you use this, you have 4 hits of 75, assuming it's a final one. So yeah, at 3 hits, pushing at 3 hits of 4 hit. If it's a true final decrease, it is breaking even. So this is only good on 1 to 2 hit attacks. You do not want this on 3 hit attacks. So obviously 9 exists. It's like a Sporlia or like a Swifty Orlea thing that exists that you can meme with. There's a lot of characters that have 1 or like a 1 hitter or 2 hitter. Like obviously, like you can go Kayron if you'll make an all man team. Kayron with this +1 hit could be okay with the perma stacking utility, whatever that one card was that I can't remember anymore. The main issue with Owen is that every other card he has is utter trash. So you move these 3 cards. Then you have to remove his mythic. You have to remove Gale Strike, remove mythic, Wind Slash. What did I delete? It's Wind Riding and Wind Charge that are good. Oh, it's Break Armor that I deleted by accident. So yeah, Break Armor is the only one you'd want to keep. So with Break Armor, you can actually do 2 Vuln. And so you can make this card or this deck. Now the other issue with Owen is that with the Wind Charge, again, much like if you were here for the Magna thing, it works like the Magna Retain Shield, where it extends the buff timer, which is actually a good sign again, because if it is a final damage multiplier, you don't want it to stack because it actively loses you a lot of damage. But regardless, it's just like you just get an extension. So if you have 2 of these, you are gonna quote unquote permanently have this card for like ad infinitum because you're gonna play 2 of these and you're gonna add 1 turn extra. So like on turn 10, after playing this for 2 of these copies for 10 turns straight, you have another 10 turns banked up. Is that useful? No, but you can do that if you really wanted to. So yeah, the issue with Owen is that like there's not really a card you want to dupe up to make more powerful. Um, yeah, it's like wind writing is you just play this wind writing to like get some extra damage off, but then otherwise like I guess break armor is probably the most useful one. If you're meming, then technically break armor is actually a buffed version of Predator Blade. Now that I think about it, maybe Owen is like a hidden decent. No, he's not a controller. Yeah, if Owen was a controller class and he had a draw card, he'd actually be better than Rei by a good amount. Because unlike Rei, you can actually Divine Epiphany. You can get a divine version of the other thing. Try 3 hits, not worth it. Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, so with like this Owen, you can get the zero cost version or draw version. And so like this actually could be like pretty nice, right? Because with enough card draw, um, or I guess you don't want this. Uh, with another character that is card neutral, you would probably end up playing like 3 of these copies and get 12 fortitude. So 12 fortitude is equivalent to 12 morale, and then you just have like a self-sufficient character on the side. They can draw all their own cards, and then you're just benefiting 12 morale for essentially free. Obviously, again, wind charge is pretty worthless, but you can just do this then, yeah. There is a reality where you just play this deck on Owen. You play this wind charge that has exhaust, so it deletes itself, and then you play wind riding that is an upgrade, so it deletes itself, and then you just have 4 zero cost break armors that do minus 12 fortitude, which obviously again is equivalent to 12 morale. So it could be he is essentially like a different version of Rei in that aspect. Now, unfortunately, break armor not being like this minus 4 fortitude not being the OG break armor means that it is really hard to actually make work. But like this is like very specific because again, you were hitting 1 in 7 on break armor, and you have to hit the 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 on break armor itself to even achieve this. And you're not even using like a proper support, so you don't get access to rally, you don't get access to oh not rally, you don't get access to gear bag, you don't have access to snack time for free like Rei does. So this could make Owen honestly not bad. But Rei is obviously just like it's a different aspect, I guess, because Rei you don't really want to do Predator Blade because you can't make it cheaper, you can't make it cycle, you can't do this and that. But Rei still has Dark Condensation. She still has like the other card, like Resounding Darkness, whatever her other upgrade card is. Like she has more things than just +4 morale. But, Owen does have this. And if you really want to be a funny memer and play the little boy that ruined it all for CZN, you could. I mean, does he even have anything else that's useful in Epiphanies and upgrades? No, nothing at all. Great, he has nothing useful. I don't think strikers have anything good either on neutral cards, so yeah. You're working with 4 break armors. And that is it. No draw, no utility, no happiness. Is what it is. I mean, that's still better than Kayron. Still a lot better than Kayron. Oh, poor Kayron, Mr. D tier. Tressa, I'm gonna put in B. So the issue with Tressa is that she is a Hugo support, and Hugo is so good that Tressa is probably A tier alone because of it. And I think this is like, I don't know like how valid of a evaluation that is. And I think this is also just me poking fun at the community for saying Tressa was like, like pun intended, doggy poo poo. Like once your rework happened, but like I feel like to me Cassius is in a way worse position than Tressa is because Tressa out still obviously had the Hugo synergy, and I think a lot of people forgot that. And there is I think Cappy Lyric is the YouTube name who is like currently like showcasing a lot of 3-turn kills on the current Nebula boss purely through the raw power of Hugo. And so Tressa is on the same level as who was it? Like who did they play? They played Mei Lin. Tressa and Mei Lin have the exact same 3-turn kill with Hugo. Obviously, Tressa caps out a lot lower than Mei Lin does, and Mei Lin has elasticity to help out in the very end. But like that's just like an example of like how Tressa still has a very solid niche in the meta because she is probably the most straightforward Hugo enabler that exists at the moment. The reason why I say this is probably mainly because of ease of building. So just like start off, obviously, a lot of these other characters they they don't have one cost skill cards. And that's really important because one cost skill cards get access to the generic epiphany of plus one draw. And so you can hit plus one draw and minus one AP. Or you can get plus one draw, right? So that makes Tressa's enabling of Hugo a lot more accessible because that means you can, on top of playing, on top of Tressa having synergy with Hugo, you can now potentially play a secondary carry with Hugo that has their own like 0 mana attack one, draw one shenanigans going on. So you can even extend your Hugo's shenanigans with Tressa on a base epiphany. And even if you miss that base epiphany, you still have other things like create 3 Shadow Daggers. You have the version of Tressa where you just hit the plus 1 Divine Draw, which is the same thing as getting plus 1, minus 1 cost, and plus 1 draw on the other one. You have the option of getting a few more daggers through like Shadow Reload and stuff, which isn't particularly good, but is just one more attack that you can have. And so with all that, like Tressa is just not bad. And you can always go with this Shadow Reload or Unsheath Dagger. Obviously, with this one, you either get plus 1 AP or plus 1 draw, which is very, very solid. I think generically you probably go for plus 1 draw just because it is free. So you have 4 copies of that. She still comes with her own curse. You probably just take the upgrade. Whatever upgrade probably doesn't matter anymore. You could even delete it if you wanted to. Shadow Reload. Obviously, you go for the 0 cost just for the ease of cycling. Nothing really much. There's no upgrade anymore, sadly. You can even just go the Shadow Reload just for the extra attack. Because, yeah, like, this is just, like, more Hugo feel, right? You don't really care. And you could even just get, like, a plus 1 draw, generic epiphany, once again, on the Shadow Reload, just to have it cycle itself as well. And then outside of that, you probably just leave Curse Gouge and Vital Attack because they're no longer that particularly appealing. You could keep this Vital Attack over this Shadow Reload to not trigger the Necrosis debuff. And this Vital Attack can also become a draw one generically, as well as to cycle itself if you have the AP for it. Is it weird you don't want to farm gachas today? You just want apple pie? I don't think it's that weird, Gabby. You've been grinding like a monster the last 2 days. I think it makes sense. But yeah, you can play this very self-sufficient Tressa deck, which essentially like you obviously like Battle Attack is not that ideal, but obviously once again you can just play like Shadow Reload, and you eat one Necrosis stack, but you don't like one Necrosis stack is not the end of the world. You can always have just one heal, and then you take like some little more damage. But if you're one turning the boss, if you're like going for max damage, who cares? And so this is why Tressa is still good. Obviously, she is not doing the Giga garbage infinite combo she was doing with like 8 heal cards, 9 heal cards that she was doing last patch. But like, this is still a very, very solid Hugo enabler, right? You are still very happy with hitting this for Hugo in every aspect, and the fact you can run a second, like a third, a tertiary character with this and get even more Hugo damage going is just icing on the cake, right? So no other character that plays into Hugo can do this, by the way. I think people have said like they've never seen a plus 1 draw on Mei Lin's move Unity, but like Mei Lin would probably be the closest thing to this. But like the fact that like they're probably equivalent in that aspect still means that like yeah, Tressa's more than fine. It's like unfortunate that she's a Hugo like backpack, but is that really that bad? Like Hugo is one of the best characters in the game, has been since launch. Like I don't think you can really say that's a bad backpack to be on. It's not like a backpack that like it's not a bad backpack, essentially. Mika, I'm gonna put in top of A tier, mainly because of Necrosis at the moment. She is just your, I mean, again, Mika's another character that probably doesn't need much introduction or much explanation. She is a character that is just very straightforward. She is pretty good at what she does. You just play her with plus 1 AP on any source, doesn't matter what source. Oh no, my bad. +1 draw on any source. So she becomes a card neutral character. That just gives you some pretty solid value. And you just call it a day. Now, necrosis being a thing, unfortunately, means that Mika is pretty, not really gimped per se, but she does struggle a bit more than she'd like to, I think, because having necrosis just means that like she's no longer universal. Like if you want to play Mika, as you've seen on my videos on YouTube, you have to turn off necrosis. That's like slightly less impressive than having the full 9/9, obviously. And because of that, that does mean that like that's why characters like Khalipe, in my opinion, naturally rank higher than her, because Khalipe is not triggering necrosis, and while she does require a slightly like more particular trigger activation, it's not as much as necrosis is. Hey Tommy. Hopefully I said that name correctly. Oh wait, it's you. Never mind. Why'd you swap? It's you. I checked your. I always do a thing where I read the name and then I check the channel to see if it's still the same display name, and it's not. Wait a second. You have too many different names. I'm gonna remember. Bit and burger. But yeah. Doing tier lists. I always do tier lists for content. Yeah, I mean, I'm only doing the tier list now because I played so many characters. I played like probably one of the larger variety of characters across like current EN content creators. Mugenics tier list win. Third person asked what Mugenics. Crazy. But yeah, I think there is one Mika Epiphany that might be able to outheal Necrosis, but I'm pretty sure Necrosis like scales the more you proc it, so no matter what, you're just getting railed. And having heavy excess of AP is not even that valuable these days. Like you can have the +2 AP because you can get hurt, and then you can have the one where it reduces HP when you recover. So it's not actually +8, it's more like +7 because your first source of water will still be a 1 cost, but then the other ones will be +2. So it's pretty good. Obviously, like full cycle, you get +7 AP essentially for free. Can't really complain about that, but again, it then depends on you finding characters or decks that need that excess AP. It needs to be a non-necrosis avenue, and it also needs to be a set of characters that can also run Khalipe, because Khalipe is doing shielding, which is more valuable for the most part than healing nowadays. Khalipe is also doing damage. Khalipe also has access to agony for some more damage. Also gives you 1 stack of Vuln after her shenanigans with Vulture Injection happen. She just has a lot more value in terms of defense and accessibility because of Necrosis being a thing. And that's why I have Khalipe like it's here above Mika, just because she dodges all those things, and they're both about as easy to build, I think. No, Mika is easier to build, but Khalipe just caps out higher. Kiss, marry, kill, CZN win? Let's see. Who would I kiss? I would, let's see. Kiss Sereniel. Kill Kayron. Marry Renoa. Oh no, what? Marry Orlea. Oh my god, I almost betrayed, I read that Renoa was the first character I liked, and then I pulled Orlea, and I was like, oh my god. But no, I'd marry Renoa. Marry Orlea for sure. Make sure you kill Owen? No. Owen's, Owen has to stay alive for the what's the word, for the agenda, or he'll be the one kissing your wife. It's okay, little bro, he can be family. Little bro can be like that. It's fine. I'll have Rin A plus just because Rei is pretty good at enabling 1 turns, or it's like Rei is really good at enabling like 2 character decks, and while still giving a relevant buff after she does all of her stuff. And the reason why this is even possible now is because they have allowed neutral cards to actually be very, very accessible in this day and age. To be fair, Mika does this too, but Mika, Necrosis, once again, no permanent damage buffs, once again. While Rei does have permanent damage buffs and is also, yeah, she also has permanent damage buffs, and she also helps you thin out your other characters' decks in case you have those problems. So obviously Snack Time is going to be the main proponent of that. You just take one of these. You take this one specifically, in my opinion. Select and exhaust up to 2 cards. You can also take the Void one if you're playing particular characters, but I think this one's always going to be the most flexible one because that Snack Time allows you to not have to exhaust in order, and you don't get the draw, obviously, But if you're running like non-perfect decks, then that will be much more useful. If you are running truly 100% perfect decks, there's always the generic draw 2 in case you hit that instead. So Rei automatically has a really good snack time for that. You delete Dark Predator. I would delete Strike of Darkness so you can have access to Dark Condensation, because Dark Condensation has this card, this upgrade, that gives you a permanent buff. Now, is this buff particularly powerful in the long run? No, not really. Does it work on Chizuru? No. That's why Rin is better. But it can work on a lot of other characters that do not create cards. So Chizuru, obviously, again, does not synergize with Dark Condensation at all whatsoever. But you slam this on Black Dance, you slam this on like your multi-hit card on Renoa, you slam this on, let's see, who else is there? You slam this on... There's actually not many characters, huh? That have a multi-hit card. Regardless, it is still a buff that is somewhat relevant for some characters. Obviously not relevant for every character, because a lot of characters do end up creating a lot and doing other things. But you can't put this on like Luke, for example, like his Demon Dance, wherever that one Bullet Hell card is. You can put it on Haru, even though Haru doesn't really benefit that much. It's still something. Renoa has some multi-hit cards that can benefit from it. Khalipe A can get vulture ejected from that, and like it's not great, but it's something. And that's more than like what Mika can do. And then with like, obviously there's no, like, Rin has always had the problem where duping her cards has always been extremely bad value, because none of them can, like, snack time goes away. And since we can all do min decks, you don't need duping snack time anymore. Predator Blade can't be cycled, so, and costs 1 mana, so you have to have insane mana efficiency, which you'd rather spend on your actual carry, or forces you to play Mika, who is not a good character. So now, instead of having to deal with that, you just add infinite gear bags. And so that way, you can have permanent sources of morale. You can scuff a... By the way, like, this is actually so crazy, like, how good neutrals are, because your generic epiphany on neutrals no longer counts towards more save data. So now you can build your own permanent gear bag, by the way, or permanent predator blade. Now, obviously, this is very niche. This is very particular. Like, you have to get pretty lucky to hit this. But since you're not duping anything, you can spend 2 dupes on gear bags. And so that means you just have to find 1 gear bag outside of your dupes, and then, you know, get an epiphany on it. So you don't, like, obviously triple morale is unlikely, but you could just always hit like triple morale and then 1 AP, right? You can always hit this. You can always hit like 1 morale, like only 1 morale and 2 AP. Regardless of what you hit on these gear bags, all it's doing, like the bare minimum it's doing, is helping you cycle through everything. If you have +1 AP, that is helping you play this Resonating Darkness and Dark Condensation immediately, and that means that Rei on your setup turn is still card positive and mana neutrals for herself. So she's a free setup for you, on top of getting, like, if you've been playing the game for a while, you probably have her E6, which gives you a universal 20% damage amount buff forever. Dark Condensation, if you have a multi-hit like Rin, gives you a pretty good, not like super good, it's like 2.5 morale, which is not bad. You'll obviously take it. If you have Resonating Darkness, that's another 2 morale, because if you're playing, once again, Rin or something, you'll have they'll either be free, or they'll be 40, like, or they'll be 0, like, or 1 mana, so you have another 40%. So Rin, by her, or Rei rather, by herself on characters that she's relevant for, is giving 1 card specifically 4.5 morale with 20% damage on buffing, and then overall team wide, she's giving you like 2 morale and 20% damage amount. And even with Hugo, by the way, Hugo's hunting instincts, I'm pretty sure, actually I should be saying this without knowing, I'm pretty sure Hugo's effects are buffed by Rei as well. I should probably check that now that I think about it. It would not even be hard to check. So maybe I shouldn't say that before I know, but keep that in mind. If it does work, it's more Rei benefits, because you can do like 2 like duos with Rei, with Hugo, because Hugo's main issue is that it costs a good amount to actually get him started, but you can just play Rei, play Hunting Instinct, generate gear bag, draw more, play another Hunting Instinct, draw more, play 1 more, draw again, and then you can do your silly 1 turns with Rei, Hugo +1, and still benefit from that. Obviously, again, don't know, haven't checked, haven't confirmed. Make sure you confirm it, because this game is full of weird interactions and all that, but yeah, he could be a really powerful upside for that as well. Next character we have is going to be Beryl. Beryl is going to be S tier, I think, because he still works with spores, right? So I'm pretty sure Beryl is still S tier just because you no longer need to scale up your retain cards. In the past, you had to play your retain cards one turn after another, and then you had to slowly make it to all of your retains. But once again, because of spores, you can just sprint your way to like a 6, 7, 8 hit opening found on turn 1 very, very easily. And if you don't know what I'm talking about somehow, we can just go through that as always real quickly. With Beryl, you delete everything, you go opening found, and then you delete this. Then it really depends on your distributions on how you want to have opening founds and your guilty pleasures. Obviously, if you have Orlea, who you probably will be playing with Beryl in order to proc opening found more, you will go quad opening found with 1 activate all retain cards, and then you keep I actually don't know which one's better here. You probably just take unlimited firepower, and then you have to find a generic epiphany or generic card of Spore Harvester. And so the beauty of this is that you can play all 4 opening founds. Again, you can't have all divine epiphanies sadly because you I guess you have like you can like do the split thing again, but you do have to keep you have to like deny one of those. But when you play your first Guilty Pleasure, you can play Spore Harvester once, and you play Guilty Pleasure, and then you immediately have 4 Spore Harvesters, which means that, or you have 4 Spores, which means that immediately on turn 1, you have access to 4 retain cards. So in the past, what would have happened is that you would have ended up playing Heavy Weapon Specialist, and you would have needed to draw your Charge Shot, and like, so you have like 2 retain cards, right? That's what happened before. You cap out at 2 retain cards, and then you play your Guilty Pleasure, and you pop twice, and then you end your turn, and you do 8 damage essentially from the opening founds. But now, because of the change with Spore Harvester, you're now gonna do 2 hits, and then when you end your turn, you're gonna do 16 hits. So that's 18 hits immediately. And then when you look at a character like Orlea, who has access to Growth Acceleration, Will of Light. Now we're talking like if you do Will of Light, you can do even more hits because you're gonna be doing the 16 hits you were doing earlier, and then you fill your hand with more spores, and then you just continue playing. Like, let's say that you play 4 opening founds immediately. You have Orlea, so you have a gear bag. Let's just say that you're playing Rei with this, right? So you play opening founds, you gear bag through, you pull everything, so you draw like 2 Will of Lights. Let's say you draw 3 Will of Lights, right? So your hand is 4 Spore Harvesters, 3 Will of Lights, 1 opening found. My bad, Growth Acceleration. You play Growth Acceleration on Spore Harvester, another 8 hits because you pocket twice. You get +2 spores, so now you have 6 spores, and you have 3 Will of Lights, maybe 4. Again, don't know how you organize your deck. Let's just say 3 Will of Lights. Then you play 1 Will of Light, you activate 6 spores, and so that's 24 hits immediately. And then you get 2 more spores because the other 2 spaces in your hand are now opened up. And then you just play Will of Light again, and you do 32 hits because you have 8 spores. And you get +1 spore because that last Will of Light is now gone. And then you play your last Will of Light, you get 36 hits because you have now 9 spores. Last Will of Light gets played, you activate all of it again, and then you just play 8 spores because you will draw Guilty Pleasure, and you will draw Will of Light, and you will draw Growth Acceleration, so you will be able to very easily refill your hand. You could be tempted to just end your turn there and just do 40 hits as well. Like, that is well within your right to do, and that probably will kill a lot of stuff. So that's why Beryl is like Giga Broken. I actually don't know if I've seen, like, I think people have already done this. Personally speaking, I haven't actually looked to see if videos are available of that, but I'm assuming they are because people have been hyping up Beryl for a moment. So I'll be really surprised if that wasn't already a thing for Beryl. But with all that math, like, you can see Beryl doing easily over 100 hits in one turn with just like a proper Orlea deck, and then Rei obviously accelerating it instantly. So maybe I'll make that just like for myself because I haven't gone on my way to look for stuff. But yeah, that is why Beryl is S tier, because she is able to do all that. And honestly, it's like, it is nerfable, but again, it's nerfable in the same way that Sereniel and Hugo are nerfable, where you have to have like sturdy or whatever that buff is called, where you gain damage reduction as you get hit, or you have like an effect where once the boss is hit too many times, they like slap you in the face really hard, which is likely what the Great Rift is going to be, by the way, going off of how they're designing this season. Is very likely that the Great Rift boss will punish you for hitting it too many times in one turn, but we'll see. It's just speculation and conjecture at this point. We don't know anything for sure. Oh man, we have 6 more characters left. So Amir, I'm gonna put Amir in B tier, mainly because I think Amir actually might be A tier. So I'll explain myself immediately, because I think Amir is a character that like people have looked down on a lot, but I think they might have not seen that one YouTuber that is like hella shilling Amir, and it looks genuinely very impressive. Like it's very impressive shilling, like extremely impressive shilling. So I'll explain. So basically, this Amir deck that I've seen, it might only be a one turn thing, but it's a very good one turn. And there probably are ways to make it better than one turn through like Veronica shenanigans or like very heavy +1 shenanigans. So first of all, you have to get this specific Full Metal Hurricane. For one turn, add 1 hit and 50% damage amount to metallization. So you need to get this so that you can have enough metallization to really pop off. And then you need to find a way to get metallization active as well. That's probably the actually harder part now that I think about it, because I don't know how you're going to get enough metallization to go off. So we'll just assume you're going to go the Celestial metallization. Something happened to the audio? It's like weird. Or just quiet. Because I only have my mic going on right now. Is it really crunchy? What are the odds I just showed up and Mel's gonna run an ad? Probably pretty high. Mic audio went down suddenly? Oh. Let me snoop around then. It's probably just me facing with the mic, honestly. I'll pull it closer to myself just in case. Why is the name Miani and not Brand? Because Brandplex has been taken since like 20 years ago on this site. Is audio better now though, Raiga? I'm assuming that I was pulled closer to me and it'll probably be fine. It's because my mic is right here. And I'm talking this way a lot. So if I turn my head, it won't hear me. Or it won't register my voice as well. But yes. So we also need more metallization. Metal extraction. We can do 3 metallization. Delete this. Which card is the worst one here? Probably Metal Pierce. How about you extract these? Real. True. Why is 9 at S- tier? Do you disagree? Or, oh, because I flamed the shit out of her on my video, right? Yeah. It's supposed to be, she's being really chilled. And I think my initial reaction, I didn't realize that like she had to be ran with good team, or like an actual competent team. But then like after I played the game more, I realized that everyone has to be played with a competent team now, unless you're like E6 Sereniel. So it's like not an actual demerit towards 9 that I have to play her with like good teammates, if that makes sense. So that's why I put her higher, because like I didn't realize at the time that the game's balance was changed to the point where like everyone has to now be in appropriate teams, or else you just get rolled over by the raw stats of everyone. Yeah, so this deck, actually, now that I look at it, I actually don't know how they handle this deck, but I'm just assume that you're gonna dupe Full Metal Hurricane twice for the vibes, and then you're gonna get Divine Epiphany +1 draw on Hovering Metal, just to like get the cast going. Yeah, Mei Lin's A+ because of elasticity. I think honestly she should. I think she genuinely belongs next to Luke because of the elasticity. Because at this point, like elasticity is not like you just can't use Rise of Dragon Spire because everything relevant has elasticity. So it's like that's not even a real build for her at this point in the game's meta. But because it still exists, like she has to be A+ tier, right? But otherwise, she's like a lot more similar to Luke, where she just like punches things over and over again, and then that lets her synergize with Hugo, and that's obviously quite good. But yeah. Have been here a while. Last time I was here was third day she was out, and you were pissed her card didn't cycle. Yeah, I know. It's just that I'm thinking like she's also an S- because to me her 9 greater than Haru, not in terms of damage output, but okay, so I'll repeat. I'll tell what I said about 9. She is super shielded because with like if you run like the rat builds, like you run like my build with like Khalipe, like auto activating Vulture Injection and Ironclad, you can't die to anything in the game right now. You literally are immortal. And because your base damage and Khalipe's base damages are still very good, you are almost like no boss is surviving 10 turns of you ramming them. And so Gangrene, like I also have Chains of, or I have to say my bad. I'm not obviously, but my 9 build has Chains of Obsession. So I'm doing 4 attacks per turn. So I'm taking 9% of a max HP every turn for fun because of that Chains of Obsession roll on the Arena equip rock, right? But if I didn't have that, it would take Gangrene 20 turns to kill me. And there's nothing in the game that can survive 20 turns of 3 9 Hue Ironclads with 4 Khalipe Vulture Ejections every turn. Nothing in the game can withstand that. So because of that alone, I think she's S minus because you can clear everything in the game. And then when it's a matter of Great Rift, it's a little different because I don't think 9's gonna be good in Great Rift. Like she never had a chance. So in this current iteration of the game, like she is fine. And to be fair, like in Great Rift, like the entire like the tier list looks like this. Oh wait, oh sorry, I'm hiding it. The tier list looks like this in Great Rift. To be fair, like probably not even this. Like it's like this. You replace these 3 with like the supports that the main that Tefera needs. Oh yeah, we had an S tier. That's my bad because I was hiding it. But yeah, like Great Rift is just a different beast. But in the current context of the game, where like you want to just clear stuff, you want to have a good time, like in chaos, you want to do things. Like it just looks like that. Like 9 is just too good. Like the overall power creep from the HP inflation, the seasonal chaos itself requiring so much raw defense and consistent damage. It's just like yeah, it's like not even close right now. I had a really harsh take. I still think like I think to me she's gonna get power crept though is the only problem. Veronica isn't S minus, the only thing I'm thinking about. Well, the thing with this season is that everyone can run very small decks. Like very, very small decks. So Veronica having massive card positive aspects of her kit is a lot less relevant because most characters can draw everything with very low effort. Now, some characters do still need everything. Like for example, Yuki. I made a Yuki video where I like did single target Yuki. She needed Veronica because I needed to draw 6 cards a turn or 7 cards a turn because I bought a new thing. So SP2, but that's the thing. Like a lot of good characters now are also SP positive. Like Beryl can be SP positive, Narja is SP positive, Khalipe is SP positive. You know, like there's a lot of AP positive characters now that like being being both AP and draw positive is still valid. Like it's still A plus territory, but now you also want to get damage buffs or have direct hero synergy, right? So that's why I have her at A plus because she's not providing crazy damage value, and she's also not synergizing directly with Hugo. I'm honestly tempted to move her down to A tier because I've seen Rei more relevant, or I've seen Rei be more relevant in a lot of showcase decks because of her ability to cycle and clean up the trash while also providing passive buffs, as opposed to Veronica. Like Rei has had more places in my teams for showcasing recently than Veronica has. I only had to make Veronica because I want to make a Yuki deck, and Rei would never support that Yuki deck. And so like Yuki being the only character that I've gone, Veronica, you're back on the squad. Like it's not a good sign for her, in my opinion. So I think if I wasn't like I'm only putting her in A plus because I'm aware that like people might see that and be like, is this guy stupid? Veronica at A only. But if I was being super honest, she'd be at A. Like she's bottom of A plus tier to me at the moment. But yeah, this Amir deck, all that aside. If I want to play this Amir deck, I probably have to go like this, right? So my idea with this Amir deck, I know it's not the correct one, because it's not the one that guy had. I need to have the issue is I need to have like some way to draw everything. So this is probably another Veronica. Oh, speaking of Veronica, this is probably another Veronica enabled deck. But I need to go. I need to somehow have like a bit more draw, cause my Khalipe. I need to draw with Khalipe. Unfortunately, she only has 1 rally, so I need to go. I need to draw 3 extra cards. Um, I also like to proc these hovering metals early, so I don't know if it's like these hovering metals need to have draw one. I think yeah, I think these hovering metals should have draw one. And then I guess I'm down with like 3 metal hurricanes. Haven't played since 9 came out. Yeah, that's fair. Play Enfield. Came out, see what's been happening. Oh yeah, yeah. I've been playing so much CZN, and I feel like I think I already said this, but I'm only confident in making this tier list right now, and I feel like I can be informed because I at least at least in terms of like again, I'm not really a big EN researcher, so I don't know how everyone else is doing like in terms of content, but I know that like I'm like probably one of the highest stream time content creators for English CZN right now, and I've also played a different character every day. So I think I do have like a decent grasp of what I'm talking about, at least for like non-Great Rift stuff right now. Because I've been playing like I've literally played almost every character that's on this list, besides like Mei Lin, who hasn't changed, Tressa, who like is not has only been like reduced in capacity, like Damage Barrel, who's like I think is pretty obviously probably broken. But yeah. Regardless, I haven't played the Amir deck though. I could probably try some Amir deck. I am curious. Who do you run with Hugo team now? Um Hugo Hugo is runnable with Mei Lin, Rin, Luke, possibly even Haru, honestly. You probably could run it with Haru if you have enough AP somehow. Tressa, Chizuru, like that's 6 characters. Have you seen the melee deck where you dupe Dragonspire, you get around elasticity, you either get -1 or you use residual herb with +1 AP? Oh yeah, I know. I figured there's a way like you just like go to 7 hits and then just ram like 4 Rising Dragon Spires, which yeah, I'm not surprised that works. It's still like 50 hits on melee multipliers, and you have Armada probably, and I could see like I easily see that one turning. You like have to get a little bit lucky with draw, but that's what Rei's for. You just recycle, you just restart the run until you see Rei with like some Veronica draw, and then you like play like Veronica. You have a few spores on Veronica, play those. If you're lucky, you have a retrieve pendant, slam some of those, and then yeah, and then Mei Lin has her own spores, slam those, and then ran it. Yeah, sounds pretty funny. I would be down, but it's like kind of boring. I think it's good for the one shot clip. Like it probably was worth rushing just for the YouTube highlight. I think a lot of things I've been doing are things that are meant for like week 2, but I really wanted to show like that I didn't want to do things that people already knew were a thing. I want to like show more stuff that could be possible, which is why I'm like which is why I'm stalling on this Amir thing because I'm trying to think of this Amir deck right now because I'm curious to see if this is like a possible turn over turn Amir consistent damage output thing because I have seen the one shot build where I think they all in full metal hurricane and then got some metalization somehow and then played Narja and then did like a billion hits off of that 1 or 2 metalization full metal hurricane things, which was really impressive. So yeah, this is me being curious. Like, can I get more? Can I somehow manage to draw all these hovering metals, all these full metal hurricanes, while also getting the shield necessary to proc all of them? Because I think it should work. I think it unfortunately requires the draw to Khalipe that might be hell to farm because you need the generic draw 2. I'm pretty sure that's the thing you can get, right? You can get draw 2. Yeah, you definitely can get draw 2 on. Yeah, because I got an Ebony Lumen once. Or is that only an Ebony Lumen thing? Has anyone gotten a draw 3 or draw 2 on a 3-cost card? Like, has anyone gotten draw 2 on Khalipe Vulture Ejection? Because I talk so much about it, and I know the site says you can, but has anyone actually ever seen it, like, with their own eyes while playing Khalipe? Hmm. Because I don't know if I've ever seen it actually. I know it's on Ebony Lumen, but Ebony Lumen is also an exhaust card, so it's like not the same. And I know I've seen draw 1 on Rage. I think at least. Yeah, I think I've seen draw 1 on Rage. I didn't take it, but I went Morale instead on my run. So yeah, I'm sure it's a thing. So you need to get the Divine Epiphany version of this Vulture Ejection for this build for sure, in order to even afford all the card draw. So it'd be like Veronica, this Vulture Ejection, Veronica with probably Shield, Divine Repose, to get the AP, and or no, maybe you can go the generic like one cost version because yeah, you should be AP positive as fuck anyways. So you need 3 of these or 4. Let's just say 3, 4. 3 with the arena thing. We'll just say plus 3 AP. Sure. So you have 6 AP overall. You only need 6. You need 7 to play metal extraction properly. But if I have plus 6 draw, then this could be a generic epiphany. This no longer needs to be draw 1 divine. And this is no longer draw 1 divine. That means full metal hurricane can be. Oh, but then I don't have celestial activating it. I mean, is that fine? Is it fine to have celestial not being active? I could always forcibly proc celestial. Maybe it's like, yeah, I don't know. I guess there's always the reality where like you get the plus 1 AP thing instead. Like we can just pretend it's that instead of this reduced one. So yeah, this could work. And then you have a 4-hit metallization that has 150% more base damage. You don't even need this metal extraction at this point, but what else would you run? There's no upgrade, I think is the issue. Oh, it's hovering metal's upgrade. So you could run the upgrade hovering metal, but then you want at least 3 or 4. Actually, if you manage to minimize the AP consumption or get that plus 1 AP instead of minus 1 AP, you could potentially just go the plus 1 AP or draw 3. Whatever. Regardless, this is like a 4-hit. 4-hit hurricane. You have at least 4 shields. I'll just assume. No, you have 5 shields with volt trajectory. So you're doing 5 hits of, or 5 instances of 4-hit metallization. So you have 20 hits for metallization, and it's actually high quality damage because it's a mirror. And then on top of that, you can actually get Narja value, like really good Narja value, where you I don't really know what unhinged thing you have to do here, but it have to be probably like a plus 1 draw, bottomless hunger. Maybe not plus 1 draw, but whatever. You probably just go plus 1 just for the sake of going plus 1. You go bottomless hunger, and you have domain of veracity with the defense based damage. Everything else is like kind of like whatever you want it to be, but you can do this for even more damage with metallization. And so this could actually be like a pretty funny team. You have passive healing that doesn't get affected by veracity with Narja. You have Khalipe A to do everything else, and then Narja can hold the extra rallies or the extra gear bags because you're not duping as much because you're only looking for these 2 cards. So you can set everything up. Get you can have upgrades on hovering metal instead, like maybe like 2 upgrades. Is there not another upgrade card that she has? Oh, none of them are good. Yeah, it's a shame. She had one more upgrade card that gave metallization. Maybe it'd be like pretty peak, but you can only do 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 times. They have 4 metallization. Oh, it's only 2 every turn afterwards as well. So you'd have to, yeah, you do have to have Celestial then. So it'd be a really good turn 1, I guess, is what it would be. You have 5 shields, so 3 metallization every turn is enough to do that. 5 shields to proc all of these. This is another 3. I don't know. I don't know if this is correct, but actually with this, you can just go all 4 hurricanes. So you can have 5 hits. A 5-hit metallization with a decent start. This would be 4 mana to play. So 4 mana is easy to afford with plus 1 AP Khalipe. The main problem will be that you need to draw everything first, which is like the main blocker. So that's why I think you need plus 2 draw on volt trajectory, so you can play 1 hurricane. Oh, but then the problem is that, oh, I see what the problem is. You actually can't do this or play this way, because if you play this way, the volt trajectory will proc on the first time you use full metal hurricane. So you actually have to use something else. I don't know how the order would work. Your hovering metal has to happen last for this Khalipe idea to work out properly. So yeah, you just run Narja. You don't need, yeah, just slash Khalipe, then you just run Amir with Narja. You have to dupe Bottomless Hunger twice, sadly, because otherwise you can't afford to play the cards. You have to have one version being draw, and the other version being reduced cost. Probably have the reduced cost being the one you dupe. This one doesn't have a draw. So you probably have a deck that somewhat looks like this. And then you have the shields on Shackles instead of the other one. Oh, but then how do you get the... My bad, then how do you get has to be the Veracity version then. Where you get Veracity as well. So you'd get oh, but then how do you get the Shackles active? Yeah, whatever. It's another puzzle, but it might be an interesting puzzle. Like it's possible Amir actually has a really good build as well, which is what's cool. So we'll put her at again, because she has because she's proven potential, like she has one shot the Nebula boss, again, with weakness, but I think she had more damage to go through from what I saw. She has proven potential. She has one shot the boss. She has like a dedicated main that has succeeded with her on YouTube, that has proof of her succeeding. She's automatically better than Chizuru, and so I think she's gonna be like probably higher than Haru, honestly. I'd say she's like actually like below Renoa, higher than Haru. If she has a consistent, again, like my breakpoint from A to A plus is like being able to do 30,000 every turn. And I think Luke should be there, but I'm actually not sure because I haven't built it myself. The only Luke version I saw like barely killed with or killed with a decent amount more with every bullet, or with the retrieve version, but losing retrieve and going to the 3 hit is again a 25% loss in damage, which is pretty good or pretty healthy. But yeah, I also don't know if that Luke build is it should be possible to do without withdraw. So yeah, maybe Luke is A plus. We'll just say that I think Rin does do a lot more damage with her perfect build, but I guess Rin wasn't one-shotting the boss when, regardless. I'll just have Rin bias, it's fine. So yeah. If Amir can break that like 30k or like 40k plus threshold, then she'll move up. Actually, yeah, I think Haru's too high then. We'll just order it like this, whatever. Put Haru behind everyone else, put her with Tressa. Maybe this is, yeah, I mean, I think it's still valid enough. A means that they're still good, and being able to kill things in 3 turns is pretty good for being off element and all that, so I will take it. I will not to justify it too much, I think. Who's next? Maribell. I think unfortunately Maribell is also in D tier. The reason why Maribell's in D tier is mainly because they nerfed her quite a lot. So if you didn't know, I don't know when the nerf happened, but before in patch like in the first season, her Shelter Strike could both do like it both went through weakness. It applied weakness, so that means you got 25% amp from hitting passion. It could crit, which is obviously another damage amp, and it got vuln value. Now it does none of those things. So instead of being able to artificially inflate the value from Shelter Strike by unironically like 3 times the amount that it should have been, maybe 4 times. Yeah, it's 4 times. It's 25% from weakness, which is the final damage multiplier. It's 1.5 times from vuln, which is another final damage multiplier. And then it's also it also lost attribute damage, which would have been like 25% or like maybe like 15% damage. And then losing in crit damage, which is like usually around 70% for most crit characters, all that combined is like 4 times damage loss. So you've lost 75% of your damage potential on Shelter Strike because of all these fixed damage nerfs. And that means that before, like, I've now found out, again, if you heard me rant about Magna a few times, you're probably sick of me saying this, but I've found out that HP or shield caps out at double your max HP. So if you had 2k HP somehow, from like having like really good invested vanguards, maybe like 2.2k, let's just say 2k for ease of math, that means your max shield would have been 4k. That means Shelter Strike, it could have done 6 times 4. It could have done 24,000 damage. If you somehow max out your shield, you could have done 24,000 damage with Maribel Shelter Strike. But now you're capped to 6k, which is way worse. Hitting 4,000 shield is a monumental task, by the way. Like, that is crazy. But with Magna. Like this mostly affects Magna because Magna's thing does still benefit from weakness. It does benefit from attribute damage. It does benefit from crit, but it does not benefit from vulnerable, which is a huge chunk of damage loss because that's 50% more damage that you're not getting. Because I think it's AoE. I actually don't know why it's not benefiting from vulnerable, but it is what it is. But Maribell's could have been better than that because it has a 50% extra mod on top of it, but now it's nowhere near. And so because of that, Maribel has literally no sauce left. There's no build you can do on Maribel that isn't better done by Magna. And Magna's not even good. So, like, I stared at Maribel's kit, like, the other night for, like, 15 minutes trying to find a single valuable thing that she does. Couldn't find one. Like, maybe it's this, like, maybe spam 4 of these for 80% counterattack damage. Like, that's trash. And this OIC doesn't... I don't know if they fixed the bug ever. Maribel's not really played, so I doubt they fixed it, because I don't think Smilegate, unfortunately, is a company that developers spend time on bad characters to fix, as seen with Kayron, getting no buffs whatsoever. I'm pretty sure this is still broken, so you can't even do 200% of your shield owned. Also wouldn't crit, also wouldn't get vuln applied, whatever. All these shelter attacks are just worse versions of Magna's versions. Resolute Blitz is god-awful, horrendous, like, signature card. She has nothing. So, ironically, I think she is like a tier below Kayron, but I don't feel like making it a lower tier for Maribel, so she'll just chill there with Kayron for now. Luke, haven't cooked with him at all, but I'm gonna assume the same thing. He actually might have like one supportive capability. But the main problem is that he's just too expensive to play. Like, everything costing 1 mana to play is always gonna be too much. But that being said, he does have this funny extended magazine card, which could be really good in scenarios where we only have like 3 draw a turn. Because this is just like a straight up free draw. If you have 2 of these, you can have a 9-card hand immediately. Now, obviously, 2 of those are worthless because they're launcher bullets, and launcher bullets are bad. SSS has no upgrade, so it's pretty bad. Buffing bullets is meaningless, so you'd want to delete that. Flamethrower has no upgrade, everything is bad. Like, drawing 2, discarding 2 is just terrible, so you want to delete that. You have Flashbang, which does have an upgrade, but it's only a shield hit, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing else has any value, it's just raw damage, it's all bad damage, so you want to delete that. RPG is an upgrade card that does nothing, so you also want to delete that. So, like, Lucas's entire concept is probably just like a free draw 2, but it's like coin flip draw 2. Or a coin flip draw 1 twice, and that's it. That's all you get. And the worst part is that his launcher bullets are not even good. I don't know how to show them, but I've looked at them before. I could just go to the combatant page, I guess. And like it's all mid. Like there's no real high value from the launchers. Oh, of course. He's such a irrelevant character that his bullets are all Luke's bullets instead. Like it's not even his stuff. Incredible. I could probably look at cards. Is it even worth looking at this guy? This guy is so worthless. Okay, yeah. So he has Impair. He has Weaken, garbage. Pulverize, garbage. Impair, garbage. Action count increased, garbage. Agony, garbage. Excuse me. So yeah. Luke is another character that probably belongs at a tier lower than Kayron. But I guess leaving Kayron down here, if people somehow see this as tier list, maybe we'll just like add more conversation for him. So even though Kayron has like he actually has stuff to build, so he doesn't deserve his lowest tier. Like Maribel, Lucas have nothing, but Kayron has something probably. But I think Smilegate needs more eyes on Kayron anyways, so I am happy to just let him get roasted and have people question the tier list for that alone, if it even becomes that popular. Selena is interesting because I've seen her have one pseudo OTK scenario with Luke. And so she has that one enabler, but I'm not sure if she's actually that good outside of that. I'm gonna put her bottom of B tier because she is a support that has enabled a one-turn kill, but I'm not really sure if she has anything more to offer. Selena's main sin is that she's not Hugo. That's it. She unfortunately requires you to actually play her cards whenever you want to get value, and she is also conditional, and her damage output is also kind of not as high as far as I can tell. But for the most part, you're gonna be playing so high power scope. You'll be playing either no, you'll be playing this skill for one turn. You play someone else's card, coordinate attack. Owen C tier. You must be an Owen calculator. Yeah, I mean he's better than D tier, which is better than Kayron, right? Ironically enough. You can probably play this Human because it cycles itself. Sure. Drone bombing. You're gonna play the upgrade version or the yeah, you're gonna play the drone bombing version, like the upgrade version, to enable more attacks from Selena. Attack maneuver is probably worthless, and you're probably just gonna keep this sniper's domain for the sake of playing it, but you can also just delete it. So your deck could just look like this. And then if you're lucky and you hit Divine Epiphanies, you can get Divine Epiphany on high power scope, and then dupe this. And it should be actually, I don't know. Okay, I need to confirm. I don't know if high power scope is a turn extension or a damage amplification. That's the main problem. If high power scope is a damage amplification, you can justify yourself in duping this and having like 3 or 4 copies. Like that's totally fine because now you have a 400% coordinate attack. But unfortunately, if it is just a turn extension, it's also worthless. Same thing with drone bombing. If it's just a turn extension, it's worthless. And you can just play this. Like you can have her like a 2-card deck is not terrible. Especially considering that you can Divine Epiphany them both. Like hit just hit the Divine Epiphany, just get lucky. And she will be card neutral, but not AP pod or AP neutral, which can work because some characters can be pretty AP positive if you have Bear Biss, so she might be okay with that. C for Cuck tier, crazy. But yeah, you can run this. Sniper's domain is kind of worthless because you're not getting many marks with this. But if you're playing Luke, the reason why the Luke thing worked out is because Luke, some of his bullets do apply mark, so it does randomly give you a good value for Selena. But yeah, you're playing all this just to like get Hugo 2.0, which I mean, yeah, could be good. Like you could run Hugo, that's fine. Like I said earlier with Tressa, the Tressa concept we saw earlier was like if you're playing as a void weak character, um, you could afford to play into that particular like you could afford to play into that Selena deck and be kind of fine with it because you can have more than enough AP. Like you just draw this, play that. You have 1 AP left over, so you have that for drone bombing, and then you have like a fully cycling deck. This allows you to play some more attack cards for Hugo, but you wouldn't get these Selena proc in that scenario. But yeah, you could. Like it's probably not that insane, but you definitely could try this and be all right with it. So remains to be seen if Selena has more than just that particular Luke showcase, but I do see the potential. The only problem is that I think you'd always rather have more creates. And in the scenario of Luke, he's already not that already not that card positive. So Selena having to I guess that's what Selena's for. So for Luke you'd have 4 retrieve bullets and then 1 create. And you'd likely want to draw into the Dance of Demons, but maybe you just don't run Dance of Demons at all. And you'd also have oh, but the problem is that then with Hugo, you wouldn't be able to get enough skill cards with Luke for Hugo. But I guess that's what the create bolts is for. You can always run the other version of Luke for the skill card proc. So yeah, you could probably do like all 3, like just full follow-up team investment with like no real morale buffs or anything, but you have a lot of attack animations. That could be funny. But I'm not convinced it's like a... I mean, with Luke, it's like... It's pretty powerful. I guess for Luke specifically, on this particular Nebula boss, I can see Selena being better just because she doesn't need you to cycle it. She doesn't need you to run a Spore character or a skill character. You can just run his better quality, retrieve, rapid fire, and your last character can be something else. Chizuru B, yeah, I can explain Chizuru B again if needed. Oh, I didn't even show this screen the entire time. My bad. This is the Selena thing. But yeah, Chizuru is B because I've seen nothing impressive. I've seen a lot of cooking. I've seen a lot of impressive decks, like really impressive decks. I've seen a lot of really good decision making, really good combos, really nice deck building, and then the result was like, oh, okay, like that was it. Like, oh, you did all that work for like 20k, 30k, like 25k damage. Oh, okay, that was not that impressive. Like, not even 25, like maybe like 20k tops is what I've seen. And that's like 5k higher than my Yuki build, which is not even close to this. Like my Yuki build with this would do the same amount of damage as the. I mean, against it's against order positive or order weak to be fair, so that's why it's like a bit like disingenuous. But Yuki is also not a single target character, whereas Chizuru is. So the fact that you're even within striking distance, again, with the benefit of the doubt that you have order weakness, yeah, we were playing the game so differently. I mean, yeah, again, it's a vibe and personal bias tier list. So I'd like to know like how you're playing her to see why you think she's strong. But in my personal experience, like Chizuru has never been impressive. I've tried to play her like in deck building. She's really bad because she requires so many very specific Divine Epiphany and Epiphany combinations. In results, she's always been like really whatever, unless I'm trying to hit a really funny clip of hitting like 8 million damage with like a bunch of 100,000, 200,000 hits, right? Like in that aspect, Chizuru is unmatched. Like I have, this is no longer possible, but I do have like a clip I sent somewhere where I did like 8 million damage with Chizuru. Let me see if I can just pull it up really quickly. I don't want to blast eardrums, so I'm going to mute Discord. Discord's not even on this list. This might be a bit sketchy. Let's see. I'll mute Chrome. I think the volume might be playing automatically super high. Oh. Sure, I'll save it. Oh, wait. Wait! Is it loud? I can't hear anything. I'll show this clip really quickly. Like, I'll show you why I can admit that Chizuru has her highlights, but not much else. Wow, that is tiny. So I made this like very late one night on my iPad because I was like just trying to see how it would look. Uh-oh, that is kind of loud actually. So I might make this a short, just to, like meme like how will we lost. But this is like the only thing I've ever seen Chizuru good at. Like I've never seen her excel in any other way. So I have 50,000 on the mouse over because I have 116 spores and I have a lot of Orlea buffs and 76 hits, which is obviously pretty nice. And I've been stacking for 14 turns. And I whack. Oh, it's 100k crits. Yeah, so 80k base hits, 130k crits. I was trying to hit 10 mil to like see the output, but obviously you can't do this anymore. I'll say grind for a much longer time. 8.1 mil, but that's like against the 3/9 boss that can't really fight back. Would kill me eventually anyways, and isn't like really doing anything, and is also abusing a fixed interaction. So like if she could do that all the time without all that stacking, then yeah, I agree. She's like much better than B, but again, you do all this work to not even do better than Yuki, right? You do all this work and again, you do synergize with Hugo. Like she is doing stuff with Hugo, but she is less flexible with Hugo and has a lower cap or lower peak than all the other Hugo supports. How does Sport Orlea actually work? I've seen people talking about it, but not understand how it works. It's long nerfed by now, or not long nerfed, but it's like heavily nerfed by now. But essentially, the reason why Sport Orlea was like kind of disgusting is because Orlea specifically has Softy, and so Softy, if you don't know, Softy is a card where when you increase your like every turn you don't play an attack card, you get 35% more damage amount multiplicatively on that card. And then when you retain that, it stacks that, and you play it, it gives you that buff once more, like one more time. And so the reason why Sporlia in particular was like super hyped was because when you use Will of Light, you would get two of these. Yeah, generally speaking, you would get two of these growing creatures, and then you dupe it, so you have two softies. and the rest of your dupes would be on Will of Light. And so you would use Will of Lights with anyone, like anyone can have Spore, but we'll just put Spore on Orlea just so you can see it. You would have 2 Spores, and so you would like play Will of Light, generate 1 Spore, play it again, generate 4 Spores, play 2 Spores, play another Will of Light, play the 2 Spores. So you're essentially applying 2 different types of multiplicative damage sources. Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. My bad. I got sloppy with this. I don't usually do this thing. Yeah, my bad. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah. So you have these growing creatures turn into softies automatically, and then you have a spore harvester. Like these are representing spores. Now they're not actually like, yeah, just pretend these are spores. And then you have these 2 spores somewhere. You actually can only have 1, I think. Oh wait, okay, wait. There's 2 ways of doing this. You either have 2 spores and 1 softie, or 2 softies and 1 spore, depending on whether or not you have a curse or not. So it depends on your like cat hand size. If you have 1 retain card, then it's 2 softies, 1 spore. And if you have no retain card for some reason, then it's the other way around. I don't use Spore Strat. I don't think Spore Strat to be the benchmark. I'm not using it as main DPS, but sub DPS. Her cards are so good to optimize deck rotation. Are you talking about Chizuru? Or Orlea? Because I don't agree with either of those on either of the characters. Chizuru does not have good cycling as a sub DPS. I almost think Tressa is better for that, but yeah. For Sporlia to work, you need a retain card. No, it's just a different structure for a retain card. Like obviously some retain cards benefit way more, like Beryl, for example. Beryl probably had like the highest peak because you could not only can you use Guilty Pleasure to stack your own Beryl spores to accelerate your own spores like even more. Like your Beryl can hold spores, right? So like Beryl has a card that gives you like this charge shot, for example. This charge shot gives you more and more damage, right? So you can have like this retain, or like whatever retain has the highest base damage, just retain, right? You have this charge shot. You delete everything else. You have this charge shot, and obviously I'm just doing this for like you're not gonna have a deck like this anymore, or like a cycle look like this, because you physically can't have a deck that looks like this for the most part. It's just so you can see it easier. But you have this setup on Beryl. And so that way, like Beryl in this scenario would get much more value because this retain would be affected by Will of Light, right? So that does work for your point, but you don't need the retain. Again, it's just a different. You just have to make sure that when you end your turn, you have enough space to draw all 5 cards back. So that's the reason I was talking about like the orientation of the growing creatures and spore harvesters. Because if you have 2 growing creatures and 1 spore harvester, that means you have 4 cards. But that means if you have a 5th card, that's a retain card, because you can't get rid of that retain card. That's why you have to play double softy, 1 spore, because then you generate a spore, and then you have a retain card, so it's 5 cards left in hand, and then you draw 5. But then if you don't have a retain card, for some reason like you're not playing with retains, then you can have 1 softy and 2 spores, because you're gonna have 1 softy that stays in hand, 2 spores that generate 2 spores, so you have 5 cards total, and then you draw 5 again. So that's the reason why I was talking about retain cards. Realistically speaking, I think you can still do Sporlia. You just have to realize that like the spores are capping out, so you don't have to invest in spores as much now. You're just gonna be investing in the softy. So you can do like you can still play like the funny deck. It's just that now Orlea is gonna just be like solely focused on boosting softy, which is still okay. And if you're playing Beryl, then you can also still like buff Beryl a lot. But for example, if I'm gonna redo that Chizuru deck, this is ideally what I would have, like growth acceleration with +1 draw. Like I want this for my Chizuru deck, so that I can just buff the growing creature. I still have spores because I need to shove all the spores into up to 20 spores into the boss to get the now it's only 100%, so I'm doing double damage with 20 spores, unfortunately, which is way worse than before. Obviously, my clip I showed, I had 110 spores, so I was doing a 10, like 100, like no 1200% multiplier, which is like 12 times more damage. So that clip I did where I did 8 million, I'd only do 800k, which is still really good considering that before it took me 50 turns to stack up to 1 million damage. That means that now it only takes me like 20 turns to stack up to 1 million damage, which is obviously way better. But yeah, you could have gone to like 1 million per hit if I had kept going on that for like 50 turns. But that's a long history away now. But yeah, Shen, I don't know like what I don't know if you're talking about I don't know if you're talking about Orlea or Chizuru for being deck rotations, but again, I don't really agree with either of them. I mean, I guess with this version, I could agree with Orlea being okay for deck rotations, but for uh Chizuru, I don't agree at all. Is the video for YouTube? Kind of. I'll probably like just like re-upload the entire thing to YouTube just for like a laziness so that people can see it, but I didn't mean for it to be like a YouTube video. I just wanted to like do a stream instead of playing the game because I low-key ran out of ideas for deck building and CZN. Also, I've like spent like over a week, like literally like basically a week straight. Like I patched it like Wednesday morning or something, so I played like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like I did so much CZN. I needed to like take a gameplay break. And I decided yapping for Tierlist would be good because I think again I have a good grasp on how characters work now. But yeah. Two characters left. Cassius, I'm gonna put in B tier as well, just because I did see he did well with Renoa. Oh, yeah, I didn't even show it. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So Cassius B tier. Probably around where Selena is because just like Selena, he had one really good showing, but I don't. It remains to be seen what other showings that he has that are good. So Cassius. The Renoa build that I saw was choose 1 out of 4. Chose full house just for the draw. The shuffles were 0 AP shuffles on discard all hands, and they had Divine Epiphanies on one of them. It was like a messy version, so I don't know what the exact precise outputs were, but it looked something like this. Dice Trick was dead. I think they had like a double dice or something with like +1 AP. It was some, I don't know. It was something that looked vaguely like this with like a Joker. I don't know what the particulars were, but basically the idea with that Renoa deck was that they generated like 9 to 12 dirge bullets, and then they used Renoa's ego skill to use shuffle, and then so they discarded all the they discarded every what I'm trying to say. They discarded all the bullets, and they were able to draw all of them again because obviously they had the shuffle, and then they did it again with a different shuffle, and this entire time they had Nia active with the one mute accent or whatever the spell is called, the one that like does extra attacks whenever you discard. So that was really impressive to me because Renault obviously doesn't have weak disadvantage against the Spirit Elemental, so it was pretty cool. The main issue is that like it remains to be seen if Cassius is playable in any other deck. I think he does have a few niches. Like to be honest, with how not necessarily like super accessible, but the fact that straight is notably better because it draws, maybe there is a character out there that can benefit from straight. Like maybe you can play like 3 2 cost and then 3 1 cost a turn to actually trigger it. That's 9 mana, which is, to be fair, a lot of mana. But you could like it is possible, right? Because you could have double dice, this particular double dice with like +1 AP, and then you dupe this 3 times or like 4 times, and this is your deck. Obviously, like dice trick, this dice trick, or these dice tricks are not really that useful anymore. Maybe the empowered dice trick is good. Like you can go this instead of Joker, call it a day. But the only problem I have with this upgrade dice trick is just that necrosis is a thing, and 111 will grief you with necrosis. But if you're not worried about that, then you can get 3 other really good cards with the empowered quest card, right? So you can potentially trigger, like this is +4 AP with 4 draw, like full cycle with more cycling to do. And so with 3 straights, you're essentially working with a conditionally, most of the time, 8 card hand draw, which is pretty good. I think it's like pretty positive. I think it's better than what most people give it credit for. I think a lot of people are still very stuck on 000 and full house being like whatever. But it just comes down to that fact that like you could maybe play straight and get +6 extra morale Obviously, with his potential, it's actually +9 morale. So Cassius now represents, again, if you're able to somehow with 2 or 3 2-mana costs every turn, you are now representing a +9 morale, 3 card extra draw support, which is really good. Like, I think that is genuinely really good. I think not a lot of people are putting that respect on Cass's name, and of course it requires like some shuffling. It requires good card draw, like good setup, probably like decent like all that. But it is possible. Like you can like he still has some value, but I just haven't seen it. And honestly, I think this Popeye Popper is probably better, the one that gives you retain, because that way you can actually like keep the straights, or in this scenario you can actually keep the full houses that you don't need to play anymore, so that you can continue cycling through your A card deck, because now you guarantee that you draw A cards instead of before where like you sometimes like might grief yourself on the A card draw. So I think again, I really don't know why they sell random quests. I really do think that if they're being fair to Cassius, they should have made choose 1 out of 4 the baseline and then just done new versions. Like this should have been choose 1 out of 4 and then initiation should have been thing, retain should have been thing, and they just changed this Popeye Popper to something else. Like to just bump this somehow in some way, because I really do not think that Cassius I don't think people enjoy playing Cassius with random quests, especially knowing that his output is way worse than it was before. But I'm not the developer. That's Smilegate's prerogative to execute on, so who cares? Like, not my problem. I won't be touching Cassius for a hot minute until I find a deck that really wants that morale. That requires them to put effort into 4 stars? Yeah, good point. When does Adelhai come out? We'll never know when Adelhai comes out. And yeah, Nia will go into the exact same spot as these characters, just because, once again, has had a showcase, shared the showcase with Cassius on that Renoa deck. Again, not sure if she's actually that flexible or that good, but maybe it's all right. Who knows? Where is she? Nia. So same deal with Cassius on the showcase. They had like, I think they had this. I'm gonna try to remember what they had. I don't think they had Mute Accent. They had Soul Rip that discards, do an extra attack. They had like 2 Adagios, one with a Divine Epiphany on this. I think it looks something like this. Again, not too certain what the precise deck was, but I think it was something like this essentially. Maybe like there was like one more card that existed. And so with this, it's mainly Soul Rip that was the feature. Obviously again, with Cassius Shuffle, discarding like 9 cards, you do that like 2 or 3 times. That's like 27 extra attacks on a lot of characters. Mei Lin Renoa, who's your main beat stick. Adagio, which is very decent for shuffling or for like doing some minor tweaks. Like you can do Adagio into G chord for some little cheese. You can do Near Curiosity to shuffle even, or to like target things you need to draw immediately. And yeah, it was just pretty clean. Besides that build, I do think Nia still has some pretty good value overall. I do, funnily enough, think that this Adagio, this discard one, might be the new like really decent Adagio that exists for Nia. Like obviously you're gonna run the +1 AP on this just for the sake of having more AP, but you're gonna delete all 3 of these as well. Have maybe 3 copies tops. I think sadly the only good Soul Rip you'll ever have is going to be this Soul Rip, the one with discards. So she might genuinely just be locked to like Renoa or other discard users from now on, which does suck. Like you have to play Cassius to shuffle to really enhance Soul Rip, which I don't know. Like it could have been more fun for Nia, unfortunately, but it's kind of the reality we live in. And then Mute Accent is pretty worthless, but thankfully you can delete this pretty freely. And then G Chord, while isn't particularly excellent, being able to target select a card is also fine. So this again just very much looks like Renoa support as always, which could be worse. It could be a worse position. Maybe there are characters who need more or who have like more value from being having cards discarded, right? And this Soul Rip effect, you don't have to use a Soul Rip. You can always use this Soul Rip with Decibel and Elasticity for sustain, which is, you know, also pretty good because that means you can, once again, you can dodge the downside of necrosis if it, once again, is relevant with this adagio, because you're able to like discard one at a time. And if you have another character that draws, then what can happen ironically is that you can have like, you can play everything and then you can have your final draw one card and then you just draw back into all four cards you discarded and then cycle that through as well. Now, how useful that is, I have no clue, but that is something you can do, right? Like you can do a funny you can do like a funny thing where you can trigger Decibel and Elasticity over and over again by discarding one and then drawing one and then discarding one and then drawing one. I don't really know how that effect would work with this secondary effect, but you could try that. Like, it is something, but it's probably not that impressive. Again, it's a very Chizuru-esque vibe where you're doing a lot for a very middling value because Rei is just gonna be a better setup, a much more easier to wrap your head around setup. And I don't really know how you're gonna play this 3-mana Adagio ever, because this 3-mana Adagio is honestly pretty good. The issue is that you have to get 3 decibels somehow, and how are you getting 3 decibels? Good luck, because there is no way to really gain 3 decibels instantly. You have to play this G chord, which means that you have to play that G chord. You have to play this G chord, and then like have your Adagios in hand, and then not shuffle to lose the value on it. So yeah, without Eternal Hunger, obviously Nia loses a ton of value, but she still had a good showcase, right? Like she still was able to do okay with the Renoa build. And there is a certain scenario where you do want this Adagio with discard one, because that way you can discard like curses and other things, and maybe that's like a mechanic that you need to work around or something. Like you discard some curses to make some space for your actual card draw, and then you have a bunch of leftover AP at the end of the turn to do everything else. Like, because there are a few curses that like only do things when they're in your hand. So never say never. There's a small chance that they'll introduce mechanics where that's relevant, so you can actually avoid the mechanic entirely with this Nia Adagio. You just rip that curse card out of your hand, say, I'll see you later, draw into it at the end of the turn after you spammed heavily, and then just like burn it. So, you know, like I think she's a character of potential, but it is a very potential woman moment. So yeah, that is my tier list. I guess in the end, like Sereniel being where she is ended up being not even the least accurate thing I've ever done. She is, or my bad, not Sereniel, 9. I think 9 is in a pretty, like I'm pretty okay with where she is, just because I think she does. Again, she is in the space where she just like clears everything, but I don't think she's amazing. You could put her lower, you could put her higher. I don't actually know. I think she only goes lower. I don't think she ever approaches the likes of Beryl, Hugo, and Sereniel. But I also think it does her a great disservice to say that she is worse or equal to the other characters, because she is doing more in chaos. She does have very good sustain if you enable it. She does have very good damage if you enable it. So I think she is pretty comfortably like in S- for Super Shield, but she's not like game breaking. She's just very nice to have because she is so convenient when it comes to staying alive, sustain, and being consistent.